opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. The death toll from COVID surpasses 400 as 25 new deaths confirmed. The morgue at a critical level, and it appears quarantined individuals will be unlikely to vote or unlikely to be permitted to vote in the upcoming general election. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of the new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Chester Robards will be joining us also this morning. We're going to be talking about mental health and children and the stress that children are under, especially in the environment we're in with schools, with virtual learning, and not everybody being able to adapt to this. And in light of many athletes talking about the pressure they are under, we're going to be looking at the pressures on children in general this morning. And we've got a special announcement with the U.S. Embassy. They're going to be here to tell us about that and a partnership we are forming with Morning Blend this morning. So we're looking forward to giving you details about that this morning. That's all straight ahead. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, the death toll from COVID-19 in the Bahamas surpassing 400. The Ministry of Health confirming in its latest dashboard for August 30th, 10 additional deaths. This comes on top of 15 deaths confirmed in the August 29th dashboard. It's now pushing the country's death toll well past 400. In the latest dashboard for the 30th of August, released overnight, 67 new cases of COVID in the country, 46 on New Providence, 7 on Grand Bahama, 4 on Abaco, 6 in Eleuthera, 2 in Exuma, 1 in Andros, 1 in Long Island. And again, 10 confirmed deaths with this, including a 55-year-old woman from New Providence who died on the 24th of August, a 27-year-old woman from New Providence who died on the 25th, a 47-year-old woman from New Providence who died on the 25th as well. 43-year-old man from New Providence who died on the 25th, a 57-year-old man from New Providence who died on the 26th, a 27-year-old woman from New Providence who died on the 26th, and a 70-year-old woman from Mayaguana who died on August 26th. A 65-year-old man from New Providence who also died on the 26th, a 60-year-old woman from New Providence who died on the 27th, and a 68-year-old woman who died on Long Island on the 27th. This is, as we said, on top of the 15 additional deaths reported between July 30th and August 23rd, released in the 29th of August dashboard. 12 of those victims were Grand Bahama residents between ages 36 and 91. The remaining 3 individuals were New Providence residents between 47 and 57. 11 of the victims were women and 4 were men. The official COVID-19 death count now stands at 406. Meanwhile, Minister of Health, Remember Wells, telling reporters that the ministry has hired additional doctors to assist in the COVID fight. He added that the government is also looking to bring on an additional 100 nurses. However, the minister is expressing optimism that the number of COVID-19 infections will decrease soon. He called on Bahamians and residents to exercise discipline. There is another crisis, though, at the morgue. The health minister saying it is now at a crisis level more than a month after the Public Hospitals Authority revealed that the morgue at Princess Margaret Hospital was overwhelmed with bodies. Wells saying the situation requires people to come and collect loved ones. He says that measures have been used in the past where they're seeking to use now. Since the start of the pandemic, the situation at the morgue continues to worsen. In late July, PMH made an urgent appeal for the public to make arrangements directly or via legal representatives for the collection of their dead loved ones from the hospital. In other news, Minister of National Security Marvin Dames, who has responsibility for elections, strongly suggesting that quarantined and COVID-positive voters will not be able to vote in the upcoming general election. He said, quote, "What is quarantine? Quarantine is quarantine. If someone has COVID and they're quarantined for a reason. I mean, you have people who are incarcerated on election day. You have people who are hospitalized on election day. You have people who are out of the country on election day. And they may be registered voters, but they can't vote because of the circumstances. The next general election is not due till May 2022. Prime Minister Minnis called that early election on September 16th. His announcement 2 weeks ago came only 2 days after officials at both major New Providence hospitals declaring that the situation was dire. For weeks now, the Bahamas has been struggling with the worst surge in COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths since the start of the pandemic, while the Ministry of Health has not provided the public with contact tracing data in the third wave, which would give insight into the average number of close contacts those who are COVID positive have been found to have. The country has been regularly confirming more than 100 new cases each day. Quarantine lasting a minimum of 10 days, it's likely that there will be at least 1,000 COVID positive people in quarantine come election day. By the time their contacts in quarantine are factored in, the number of quarantined voters is likely to be in the thousands. When pressed yesterday on whether those thousands of quarantined voters will be disenfranchised, Dames downplayed the situation. Overseas, Micronesia's president saying today he'll continue to walk around his island nation without fear, despite an alleged death threat against him over his government's vaccine mandate. A month ago, Micronesia became one of the few countries in the world to impose a broad rule requiring that all eligible citizens get vaccinated against the coronavirus. Soon after, the president signed a decree requiring anybody receiving federal funds to prove they've been vaccinated or risk foregoing their checks. It's a broad net that captures most of the adult population, everyone from business owners getting pandemic stimulus checks to government workers and pensioners getting Social Security benefits. Some islanders have strongly objected to the measure. Last week, a man was charged with making threats and other related offenses, which carry a maximum prison sentence of 10 years if he's found guilty. In court documents, prosecutors say the man wrote a Facebook post which read, quote, "Mr. President, my decision, my body. You're going to need an army to protect you from now on. You will be assassinated for sure. Mark my word, Mr. President." In an interview with the Associated Press, Micronesia President David Panuelo saying that since the Facebook post was made, authorities have increased the security around his home and office. And weather disasters are striking the world 4 to 5 times more often and causing 7 times more damage than in the 1970s. That's according to the United Nations Weather Agency. But these disasters are killing far fewer people. In the 1970s and 80s, they killed an average of 170 people a day worldwide. In the 2010s, that number dropped to about 40 per day. That's all including the World Meteorological Organization report released today that looks at more than 11,000 weather disasters in the past half century. The report comes during a disaster-filled summer globally, including deadly floods in Germany and a heat wave in the Mediterranean, and with the United States struck by Hurricane Ida and an onslaught of drought-worsened wildfires. The world averaged about 711 weather disasters a year, but from 2000 to 2009, that was up to 3,536 a year, or nearly 10 a day, according to the report. The report used data from the Center for Research on the Epidemiology of Disasters in Belgium. The average number of yearly disasters dropped a bit in the 2010s to 3,165, according to that report. In sports, to those who watched the 3 Indianapolis Colts preseason games, it'll come as no surprise that Bahamian wide receiver Mike Strachan made the Colts' 53-man roster. The deadline for National Football League teams to cut their rosters to 53 active players was yesterday at 4 p.m. Before that deadline, though, the rookie tweeted an ambiguous post, quote, "Always be thankful." Bahamians and other fans now know that he is thankful for making the team. The Grand Bahama native was the 3rd Bahamian-born player to be drafted into the NFL. Ed Smith was the first by the Denver Broncos in the 13th round in 1973. And then in 2004, DeVar Darling became the second when he was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. Strachan's first opportunity to hit the field in a regular season game will come when the Colts welcome the Seattle Seahawks to Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. 1 p.m. on Sunday, September 12th. It'll be their first game of the 2021-2022 season. They will watch it live on Fox. Read more about Strachan in today's Guardian Sports section. Bahamas senior men's national basketball team on a path to the 2023 FIBA International Basketball Federation World Cup. And the route became a bit clearer yesterday when they were drawn into Group C for the FIBA Americas World Cup qualifiers first round. The draw taking place yesterday afternoon in Switzerland. Also drawn in Group C, Canada, Dominican Republic, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. They are the exact 4 teams that were in Group D for the previous FIBA Americas World Cup qualifiers. There are 4 of 16 teams to qualify for the first round. To get here, the Bahamas competed in the FIBA Americas World Cup pre-qualifiers in early July. The Bahamas finished that competition with an unblemished 3-0 win-loss record in Group A, playing against Cuba, Costa Rica, and El Salvador. For the Americas qualifiers, the teams were divided based on geographical principles combined with the FIBA World Rankings of men, presented by Nike. You can read more about all of this in today's Guardian Sports section. And more from the NFL. The Mac Jones era in New England has begun. The Patriots releasing Cam Newton Tuesday, clearing the way for the rookie to open the season as New England's quarterback. Newton's release coming hours before NFL teams had to reduce their rosters to 53 players and brings an abrupt end to his time in New England. Newton went 7-8 as a start. Patriots' first season since Tom Brady departed and signed with Tampa Bay. New England finished 7-9 for the year. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, we've got a weak pressure pattern that continues to maintain light winds across the country as an upper-level trough enhances pockets of showers and thunderstorms over portions of the islands through tonight. Boaters should be alert for possible waterspout activity, and everybody's being advised to limit outdoor activity, limit direct sun exposure as much as possible, remain hydrated as we're expecting another day with soaring triple-digit heat indices. For today, for all areas, a forecast calls for partly to mostly sunny, hot, and humid conditions. Widely scattered showers, isolated thunderstorms, but partly cloudy tonight. Boaters expect gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers and thunderstorms. Winds variable at less than 10 knots, seas 1 to 3 feet. Temperature-wise, right now in Nassau, we are up to 81 degrees in the fair skies, 77 in Freeport. Look for highs getting up to 93 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius. But the heat index will be up to 100 Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook and a look at the tropics coming up after traffic in just a bit.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
When we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on your home for fresh news and smart talk all day. Guardian Radio 96.9.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
It's summertime. The temperature is rising, the beach is calling, and the bills are piling up. You need relief. Let B.O.B. make your summer as sweet as Eleuthera's finest pineapples with the lowest consumer loan rates in the country. Consolidate debt to reduce your monthly payments, secure funds for school fees and home repairs, or save big by switching to a B.O.B. mortgage. Sweet relief is here. Apply today at B.O.B., your bank of solutions. Terms apply.
This week, the FNM is Rolling Red in Nassau. Drive up to the Rolling Red Candidate Launch and Rally this Wednesday, the 1st of September at the Carnival Grounds, QE Sports Center, 6 to 8 p.m. It's a drive-in rally, y'all, so stay in your cars and trucks. Live entertainment featuring KB, Sammy Starr, Synovia Pierre, and DJ Tang. COVID protocols will be observed. Join the FNM this Wednesday, and let's roll red.
We coming back with the dog
yeah.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 3961 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
The views and opinions of the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 1.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-GR96 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. We'll give you the phone numbers to call in just a bit as well. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Chester Robards. Chester Robards, good morning. Yes, good morning.
Yes, good morning,
there
good
we go,
morning,
there
good
we go.
morning.
There you go. Great to have you with us again. Appreciate
Good
it.
to be here, thanks.
A lot to get to morning, and we told you how you can join the conversation. Coming up this morning, we're going to be in our 7 o'clock hour. We're going to be talking about mental pressure on children. We're back to school. Schools are reopened, and again in the virtual environment. We know not everybody is adapting well to this. In fact, some people are doing very badly, very poorly with this. And as we're hearing from some officials, some students have virtually disappeared. They have not been active participants in this at all. We're going to be talking about what can be done to save those students. And also we're talking about pressure in general on young people, especially after hearing so many athletes over the past few weeks talk about how they just had to step away from things because of all of the pressure on them. And we know that students feel that as well. We're going to get into all of that this morning. Then later in our 8 o'clock hour, we've got a special announcement to make with U.S. Embassy. Charge d'Affaires Usha Pitts is going to be with us this morning. And I'm going to be making that announcement about a partnership between the Embassy and Morning Blend. We're looking forward to that. It's going to be interesting. Stay tuned for that coming up. And then later in Morning Blend Business, the latest on where things stand on vaccines and the workplace, with some interesting announcements being made locally and abroad by various companies. What do you do if you are still the holdout on vaccines and your workplace is telling you you've got to do some things? We're going to get into that this morning. So a lot to get to on this Wednesday. Let's begin, though, with what's in the news. And in the news, the COVID numbers, we have now surpassed 400. We got a lot of information from the Ministry of Health late last night. And we've got 25 new confirmed deaths. So what happened here? Late last night around 11, just after 11, the ministry issued the dashboard for August 29th. On that dashboard, it had 25 deaths. Sorry, 15 deaths. The number will add up to 25. You'll see in a bit. 15 deaths going back to July 16th up to August 23rd. And those are some people from Grand Bahama and also New Providence. So 15 deaths there. Then a few minutes later, the dashboard for the 30th of August was released. And that had an additional 10 deaths. An additional 10 deaths from August 24th up to the 27th. So 25 additional deaths now. And that puts the number well past 400 who've died in the Bahamas since the start of the pandemic. So in the latest dashboard, again, 10 deaths, people from the age groups ranging from 27 to 27-year-old women. One who died on the 25th and one who died on the 26th, both in New Providence. Up to a 68-year-old woman who died in New Providence on the 27th, who died from Long Island on the 27th. Long Island, 27th. So that's a big age range there, 27 up to 68. And then from the group from the day before, 12 of those victims were from Grand Bahama, were between the ages of 36 and 91. The remaining 3 were from New Providence, ranging in age from 47 to 57. 11 of the victims were women, and 4 were men. So this is just staggering, the last few days, what's been happening here. The number of numbers, of course, some of those are dating back from a few months, but they're reclassifying. Those that were under investigation are finally being confirmed to be COVID. And it lines up with what we've been hearing. If you just live here, you'll know this. People who tell you every day you're hearing about somebody who died. And they weren't ill before. This was a recent development. And it's just very, very, very disheartening.
Has the majority of the 400 been this year? That's occurred this year?
I do believe so. I do believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it was only in 100 and something last year. So yeah, it has been. And it's just, now September. So this has been a rough year.
Yeah.
For all that we thought 2020 was, this year has been even worse. Wow. Boy. Okay. So despite all of this, the Minister of Health, Reverend Wells, says he's optimistic that the curve will be flattened soon. Well, telling reporters yesterday that the ministry has hired additional doctors to assist in the COVID fight. And he says that they're looking to bring on additional nurses as well, about 100 of those. He expressed optimism that the number of COVID-19 infections will soon decrease. He says, quote, I do believe that by the end of September, even before the next general election, even before, before the next general election, we're going to see a reduction in the numbers. We've seen it fluctuate, and so we may see some numbers going down even before that time. He called on Bahamian residents to exercise discipline. He said, quote, this is not our first rodeo as a people. We've been dealing with this from March of last year. I believe that we're going to be in a good place. At the end of the day, as long as we continue to vaccinate, we will get over this hump. And the reality, the circumstances that took place in a place like Israel, the most vaccinated nation, Once they began mass vaccinations, their numbers went down dramatically. They're now experiencing the Delta variant with their number creeping up and hospitalizations. But at the end of the day, the vaccination program has been shown to greatly reduce the number of positive cases. That's Remembered Wells there. However, last week, Dr. Nakia Forbes, the director of the National HIV/AIDS and Infectious Disease Program, said the country has not yet seen the worst of the surge. You remember that? Forbes predicted that with the healthcare system already overwhelmed, more people will die before the situation improves. And we've all been predicting that things are going to get worse here. I don't know what Minister Wells is talking about, but judging by how things have gone in the past, over the weekend with the rallies, the motorcades, the nomination day festivities, we can only imagine that within 2 to 3 weeks, unless you're trying to tell us that all those people out there were vaccinated. In any event, we know that vaccinated people can still catch and spread COVID. But we believe that things are going to get crazy within 2 weeks. But hey, I'm not the Minister of Health. What do I know? All of this is happening as the hospitals continue to say they're in crisis. Now, this is some odd language here. Now, Wells is saying the morgue, which we've heard is overwhelmed. We've heard everybody, morticians, everybody's saying it's terrible. He's saying it's not at a crisis level? Okay. Our Rachel Scott writing about this. He says that more than a month after the PHA revealed the morgues with bodies, Health Minister Wells says that the situation is not a crisis, as they have had many people come in to collect their loved ones. Okay. So we read that.
So it dropped from crisis level.
It's, just below crisis.
Back down.
Mm-hmm. He says, quote, "It is not at a crisis level now, but we're observing it."
Mm-hmm.
So it's like in intensive care, but stable. Is that what it is? Okay. He says, wow, quote, "The measures that we have used in the past are the measures that we are seeking to use now. And we're encouraging the Bahamian people to come forward, to step forward. And every time we make the plea, there is a surge of individuals who do come and collect their loved ones." All right, so since the start of the pandemic, the situation in the morgue, as we know, has continued to worsen. But Wells is saying they've got a handle on it now. Okay. The morgue, which has a capacity of 73 people, was housing about 218, we were told. Wells says there are a number of measures that they've taken. He says, quote, "We can call the particular funeral homes where there are already arrangements with family members so they can speed up the process. We can put it out again to the general public that they need to come and collect their loved ones. The government has in the past also, in circumstances, because we do have some infants who are in the morgue and folks have not necessarily come back to claim them. This has been in the process of birth. The child died, or you would have had miscarriages, and we consider those bodies as well. Huh? Why not? So the government in the past, with the permission of family members, would have buried those children for those family members. So we're looking for ways as to how we can address the circumstance. But we have had an uptake of people coming now to collect their particular loved ones. Okay.
Yeah.
So no, crisis, but not crisis. Okay. So we got that. Sure.
It's just slightly below crisis level. It's good. You know. We had a lot of deaths. Maybe that'll drive it back up.
My goodness. Okay. Hey, let's talk about it, folks. What do you make of it? 25 new deaths. Well, confirmed now. Confirmed, as we said, some of them are going back to July, but confirmed deaths. The numbers are still high. We didn't even talk about the new cases. So with the August 30th dashboard, 67 new cases, 47 in New Providence, 7 on Grand Bahama, 4 in Abaco, 6 in Eleuthera, 2 in Exuma, 1 in Andros, 1 in Long Island. Again, 67 there. With the day before, the 29th, 129 new cases for the country, 114 for New Providence alone, 4 in Abaco, 6 in Eleuthera, 1 in the Berry Islands, 3 in Exuma. one on Crooked Island. So still very high numbers. All of this is happening. And the health minister is optimistic. All right. What do you think? 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Are policies responsible for the being, or is it the actions of the people? This has been the big story, the big question since the start of the pandemic in this country. And the opposition would largely have you believe that it is about policy. And the leader of the PLP is talking about this again and giving some further hints as to what they would do if they were in charge. I want you to take a listen to this report from our Jared Higgs.
And we are going to end the emergency orders and govern via ordinary legislation.
That was one of the standout promises made by PLP leader Philip Davis in a speech that featured heavy criticism of the government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic.
A respected global ranking of how nations are handling COVID ranked country 179 out of 180 countries. And yet, the self-appointed competent authority is dancing on a stage.
In a national address on Monday night, Davis said the mistakes that were made were avoidable. He also criticized the government for a lack of transparency in COVID-19 spending and for what he called an uneven application of pandemic rules.
This choice to discriminate and enforce rules unevenly from the start has been another failure. Restaurants at our quay were closed when franchise restaurants were open. Bahamians were stranded abroad while foreigners on yachts and private planes were allowed to enter.
Davis also criticized government for not doing more to prevent the current surge in COVID-19 cases that has overwhelmed the country's hospitals. For the PLP's part, besides ending the emergency orders and ending the travel health visa, Davis promised free widespread, especially using antigen tests, which he says will deliver speedy results.
Is free, widespread testing going to be cheap? No, it isn't. You know what's much more expensive? Lockdowns that kill our local businesses. Now, having such high case rates that travelers choose to go elsewhere.
But Davis's critics are wary of his promise to end the emergency orders while the country battles the worst wave of the virus yet. With serious concern over the Delta variant, those critics suggest that weaker restrictions will result in more deaths. But the promise to end the emergency orders isn't unique to Davis. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis promised an end to the emergency orders by mid-November if the FNM is re-elected. Davis's deadline, if anything, looks to be 2 months sooner.
We will provide the science and data to support any necessary public health measures, because when it guts the movement of its people in any way, that is the least that the people are owed.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Jared Higgs.
Okay. What do you make of it? What do you make of it? It's easy to say those things. I think the health professionals will be making some very strong cases otherwise when they do start having those conversations. I suspect.
Oh, for sure.
But but they all have said they're going to stop, right? They all have claimed they're going to end the emergency orders and try to do this by legislation. I really don't know if they, anyway. I can't imagine. We all want the emergency orders to end. Absolutely. Absolutely. But what type of legislation? I keep saying this. What type of legislation? We saw the which was clearly junk now, right? Because everything has been with the dissolving of Parliament. I mean, that piece of legislation that was out for consultation. I mean, what's the point of even looking at it now? But it was laughable in many respects. There were many things that weren't going to be able to work. And I don't know who can come up with anything better, actually. There's going to be little you can do that won't be seen as a violation of your rights if you try to control this through laws. right? And I don't understand, but we keep inviting people to tell us how they think they can do it, and everything we hear is very suspect. But maybe you know better, folks. Let us know. Are these folks right? Can there be laws to govern your behavior at this time outside of curfews and restrictions like this? Can you make people? This is why they're having all those crazy fights in the U.S., right? Because we're making people wear masks when there isn't really a declared emergency. Can be problematic. Now, the people of the Bahamas seem to be a lot more reasonable than some of the folks in other parts of the world, and might just do it because they get it. But it could also be because we have a declared emergency and people see it and hear it every day. So let's talk about it. 323-6232, 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Let's go to the phone lines. Good morning, come here.
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi, good morning.
How you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, the doctor who's in charge of, the director who's in charge of the infectious disease, and I think she's connected to the national COVID plan headed by the government task force. She agreed with Mr. Davis in essence, because she kept calling and she kept saying we need to do more testing. Every time she speaks to the media, she says that. Now, I don't know if she's the one who gives the government advice, because the government kept saying that they get their advice from the health section. Hello?
There's many doctors. There's many people
but
involved.
I'm saying she's fully connected to the National Task Force on COVID for the government. And she repeatedly said we need more testing. Let me reiterate, I don't know if she's one of the doctors that this administration get advice from.
She definitely
is. Yes, she
definitely is.
But they don't follow that advice, because she continuously say it.
There's a lot of advice they don't follow from a lot of people. They do
that's
what
I'm just saying. That's one of the things that Mr. Davis said continuously. We need more testing.
Yeah, we need more testing. But again, you get tested today and then go out partying and do foolishness and then come back. And
but that's
testing
not
every
going to. If we're doing more testing or whatever, I'm sure that it's not going to be just go out partying and blah, blah, blah. But you have to do something.
It absolutely will. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do more testing, but people will do that. Oh, I tested negative. I'm going out.
No, but if you have to follow the protocol, if you have the proper thing in place. Remember now,
so
this
people aren't following the protocols and they're not getting tested.
Find those persons who were in quarantine.
Okay.
And I'm quite sure if that starts, something would be put in place.
Okay, all right, we hear you. We know people are a little different from that. But yes, we need absolutely access to testing, free testing. That is very important. But will that change your behavior?
They also promise more contact tracing, or better contact tracing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you will require people to be more honest.
Yep.
And a lot of people aren't doing that.
Aren't we supposed to have some tracking system for quarantine people now? Some new tracking system that was announced?
Different from the one that was announced all those months ago?
Yeah, it was supposed to be more robust.
Oh, okay. You sure that wasn't just more people checking on you?
I don't know.
Okay. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us. This text here, free testing won't help if people do get tested. They won't want to record being positive, then you wouldn't be able to work. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. You won't be able to do a lot of things, right? You might have to go in quarantine if you want to go right before the election. There's a lot of things. Anyway, we're going to get into that in a second. Let's take this call. Good morning, call. You're on the air.
And good morning, Chester. Okay, what I would like to know, right? I would like to know if the government got us advice from the medical official to have an election in a time like this, and what they would have expect to happen other than what we're going through now. You think, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we hear you.
And for the most part, right, if you ride through, I don't want to come off harsh, right, but if you ride through these ghetto areas, like Camp Road, Coconut Grove, and these other places, right, I think these are the persons who are not following proper protocol. So when I hear about these cases going up, I can only think of persons, because I have a job where it takes me to drive to those areas, and you will see persons to these campaign offices by the hundreds. You know, they're eating, drinking, and they're just there. And I'm trying to figure out, I say the persons who are running for these areas, I mean, why are they not telling their people to follow the proper protocol? And why we are not around this time having more of those, what do you call those persons, the covert patrol officers? Why are they not having more of those persons on the ground? Because every day you're just hearing about the same thing, the case is up, the death up. But what enforcement are we, what are we doing? Why are we allowed to even walk around without wearing masks? And why these persons are not, you know, why are we not up in our enforcement? What do we expect? You know, you need to, I'm trying to figure out, for the love of God, how could we even put a brace on this if we're not trying to get a hold of what's going on? Because it don't have to, I don't think it have to be this bad. It's this bad, but it don't have to be this bad. And I think our medical people need to come out and they need to speak out on what's going on, you know.
They've been doing it. They've been doing it. Right?
More. They need to come out and speak more about what's happening, because, you know, don't be like Dr. Fauci in the States during Trump time. He just keeps silent, and then afterwards open up his mouth.
Definitely not. Fauci was on every day and has continued to be on every day.
He wasn't saying much. He was, you know, he didn't have much of voice until Biden went. Then
they weren't listening to him. That's all.
Had to talk about what's happening and all of that. And we need to open them out now to save this country, man, because we're having a lot of deaths, and it's hitting home persons who we know well. And these campaign office, these people who run into these offices, they need to get their people in check. You don't have to have them crowded, you know, like that. That don't make an ounce of sense.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. To respond to some of the things, well, the doctors are talking. The doctors are talking. They're on this show every week. They're on other shows every week. We hear them. They are making impassioned pleas for people to change their behavior. But people ridicule. We get text messages every day when we have them on about how people, I don't think it's been pleasant for them at all, but they are definitely speaking. Of course, I'm sure the medical told the Prime Minister this was crazy, but this is the system we have here, one man. Anyway, but you know, you mentioned a bunch of neighborhoods. It's not just there. It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. Every group, every type of environment, every neighborhood. It doesn't matter how much money you have, or it doesn't matter. And there are people behaving recklessly across the board. And it's a small island. These are small islands. People move about and have friends and family in every part of this country. So, and these behaviors are common to all. So, yeah. All right. Let's read some of your messages here. Quite a few. Oh, dear. Oh, boy. Okay. Wow. This person says here, I pray things get better than worse, because we're conducting funeral services every morning. It's such a downer, but I guess locking us up will stop the deaths when everyone knows that their unhealthy lifestyles is finally catching up with those who like food over health. Okay. Depressing text there. This one says, I think it's pure PLP rhetoric pandering to the lawless and careless amongst us. That's in response to the piece we played there. Okay. This person says, Morning Blend, you confuse me every morning as we never know what time your headlines are going to come on. You mumble frequently, and we don't know what you're talking about. Why don't you present? Why doesn't your present co-host respond when you greet him in the mornings? Okay.
Doesn't have nothing to do.
Big issues. You just don't like us then. That's all. Okay. Keeping you on your toes, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway. Dwight and Chester, you see why a lot of us can't wait to see the back of some of these jokers? I guess they're talking about the politicians. Okay. Can you tell me what that 1.3% increase of death is in the actual number? Put a number amount to 1.3% increase, please. Okay. Do you know what they're talking about?
No. What mentions 1.3? Where was the mention of 1.3?
I don't know who said that. Okay. Anyway, it's really not the emergency order ending. It's the capacity of the healthcare in our country that cannot handle the COVID cases. The healthcare is the one advising to keep some stipulations or restrictions in place.
The healthcare?
The healthcare system, perhaps. Okay. So they're saying that will not mean anything if they just bring it to an end. It still will be the overwhelmed healthcare system.
Right.
And what do you do? Well, they're saying they think they can make laws that can influence and impact all of this. Trying to figure out what laws will it be? Right? What laws will you put in place to restrict my movement? What does this mean this country will become if outside of an emergency you try to restrict my movement and tell me how to behave and what to put on my face and perhaps tell me what time I need to be in my home? What would that mean? What would the Bahamas then be? And that's what I'm asking. This one says here, I took the Moderna vaccine in January of this year. Hardly ever hear anything about this vaccine. Do you think I should get a booster? And can I get the Pfizer's booster backup? Thanks. Well, you can't do it here.
Dr. Strachan, I hope you are able to answer that question.
Right. Well, all I can answer is the part about the booster. The Ministry of Health has said it. The COVID committee has said they're not doing boost for people until they vaccinate people who haven't yet received their first doses. And until everybody has their second dose, they can't be talking about boosters. So that's what the challenge is. You probably go back to the States where you got Moderna and do whatever you'd like. Testing is not a silver bullet. America is one of the most tested places in the world, and yet still their cases are soaring. Non-compliance with increased testing is going to be pointless. Yeah.
That's true.
That is true. I think we've got another call. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Right, and good morning, Chester.
Morning.
Yeah, Dwight, disseminating of information out there cannot just stand on the national voice. There are so many media out there, radio and television. So it need to be fairly, because when I listen to the calls, I realize some of these information is not vetted properly, because what they are talking about, these information was brought about on the national voice and during the national advertising, what have you. But these information need to be advertised on your station and other stations.
Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
Information of the ministry and the health and the health information on Corona. I'm talking about, right? And other information. It cannot just be on one media mostly.
It isn't. It's all over.
Well, to me, I mean, I've been getting I've been getting information that I had to be correct. No. If it was broadcast on a station, they say they haven't heard it. I heard it, but then again, it's being heard mostly on the national way. I mean, I'm not saying national's doing a bad job, but then again, other media, how do you don't advertise it? I'm not just listening to your station. I'm talking about other media out there. So the information got to be carefully crafted and make sure that it's carried on all the media, almost like a Hawking storm, Hawking watch. You follow what I'm saying?
Somewhat. I do get what you're saying. Yes, and fine. But at some point, you have to seek out too.
Right. Am I
right?
and, when you're on your TV station? Hello?
I don't know. Well, are you going to watch it?
Am I going to watch it?
Yeah.
You don't think I should watch you?
I was asking. Are you interested in watching
like
us?
To be watched?
Yeah. You can watch most of our programs on our video feed right on our website, guardiantalkradio.com. So if you really want to see us, you can see us there. For now, who knows what the future will bring.
But I hope the American U.S. supply you but enough to sponsor your TV station.
Who? Okay.
American Embassy.
Oh, well, I don't know if they would do that. Okay, thank you very much. It's kind of odd. But hey, thank you. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I guess that's what that is. I don't know. All right. Another one here. So I got tested on Monday. I am negative. I catch the virus on Friday. How did the testing help? Right. And that's what I was saying earlier to the caller, that's going to give a lot of people a false sense of, I don't know. Anyway, and could result in some behaviors that could be not saying that we don't need it. When you are feeling sick, when you have been exposed, you do need to have the free testing. If people are assuming like, well, I don't feel so well. And I know I was around that person who apparently has COVID, so I guess I have it. And they may or they may not change their behavior, but you can't rely on that. You need people to be tested, and it needs to be affordable or free. So in those situations, yes, it would be great if we could get tested anytime we wanted to. But there is, as people have been saying, a cost to that. And who is going to pay it? But you do need access to testing when you need to have testing. But the behaviors aren't changing, and that's scary. That's scary. This one says here, people are always saying this was a bad time for election. My question is, with the uncertainty of COVID and the continued non-compliance, and when would be a good time? When the election was due. That's my answer. When it was due. This is when it's due. This is the time we have to do it. Not before. You don't have to call it before. But this is the deadline. We've got to do it now. So we've got to do it. Yeah, that's it. Okay. This one says here, everybody won't follow the protocols. That's expected. However, I've seen several instances where COVID ambassadors or patrol cars passed by situations where citations could have been and should have been issued, or gatherings they could have dispersed, but they cruised right by. We need stricter enforcement. That is very true. And people know. Everybody knows the hot spots. There's a couple places that are, I don't think they were doing anything before March 2020, but they are hot right now. And, but they just continue. You know what I'm talking about, right, Chester?
Nope.
Yeah?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're very funny. Oh, boy. Okay. Let's take this call.
It's true, though.
Yes, right. They weren't doing it. I don't even know if they were open. A couple of these places. It's a few places, but they are very hot right now. Various spots on the island. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Dwight, how you doing? Good morning, Justin.
Good morning.
Dwight, are you guys suggesting that we don't need free testing?
Nope.
That's one clarity. We don't?
No, I'm not suggesting that.
Oh, you're not suggesting that. So one of your callers are doing that.
Sorry?
One of your callers are suggesting that?
Yeah. No, we're saying that won't necessarily change anything. It'll be good for people to have access to affordable or free testing. Absolutely. But that won't necessarily change people's behaviors. that they will give some people a
I
false
totally
sense
disagree
of,
with that.
yeah? You
But
don't think that there will be some
imagine
people
we
who
took
get,
the approach during the height of the AIDS pandemic that we don't need to know our status. I mean, what do you think would happen then?
Again, nobody said that or is saying that.
You said the behavior wouldn't change at all if they got free testing.
Some people's behavior won't change. In fact, some people's behavior may get worse. Like if you test negative, you might decide I can't go out tonight because I don't have COVID.
Well, giving people the false hope that these cloth masks would actually do something, false hope. That's part of the problem. If the government would have allowed N95 in or people that buy their masks that can work, allow those masks into the country, maybe we would have had less issues with persons getting positive because these cloth masks do not work. The data prove that. So testing is not the issue. It's the standards that the government put in place is not working. And testing would definitely prove someone's their attitude, because if you know you're positive, you're not going to go around your parent who you know is sick.
Well, we hope not.
No, come on now. You think people actually want to go cause their parents or someone they love to get a COVID virus and probably die?
Maybe not.
They might
still go to work. They might still, because they have to make money. They might still do that, right? They might still, but that's not. Let's stick to what we're saying here. Free testing, yes, it's very important. There are people who are concerned, who have been exposed, who have been in contact with somebody who want to know and have not been getting tested because they can't afford it. That's where it's very, very important. But we do know that there are some people who are going to abuse this.
Here's where I fault the government in this, though. If the government is able to advocate for free vaccines and get those in readily, the government could have also done that with the testing. Because we go back to looking at the United States again. They've had millions and millions of tests done. They've probably tested more than 200 million people. We could have advocated or have our ambassadors, ask for some free tests from the United States, and we could have tested every single person in the Bahamas at one point. But we haven't done that because it's all about money. If you look at what we've tested, maybe 150 and 20,000 people in the Bahamas, or conducted 115,000 tests in the Bahamas. And let's say each of those tests cost $135. That's a little over $15 million that was made from testing alone. So if we go back to when testing was $200 and something, then that money goes up. So looking at the travel visa, that's another revenue that is making money off of this pandemic.
Yeah.
So if we really were serious about the wellness of this country, we'd have had free testing from day one. Well, maybe not from day one, but at least during the middle of it, when we know that we needed to know who has what. We could have had proper equipment in here if we advocated effectively from day one, but we haven't been doing those things. So until we get to that point where we are serious about this pandemic, I don't think we'll have this rampant spread like we have right now.
I can't disagree with you on that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. We got a lot of your messages. We're going to get back to those in just a bit. I just want to talk about the other issue related to this, and especially with what we said earlier about what happened on nomination day there with what we were seeing and behaviors that are likely to cause a lot of regret in the next few days. What's going to happen to people who find themselves in quarantine near election day? It's been a big question for some people for some reason. We still have a few. I think it's kind of strange that some people talk about this because we still have quite a few days before that, and the period, the 10 to 14 day quarantine period. Most of the people in quarantine now will likely be out by then. But some people are very concerned that they're going to be exposed to COVID in the next few days and may have to be in quarantine. Yeah. So they're all wondering what's going to happen on Election Day. Will I be allowed? We got some very interesting responses from cabinet ministers yesterday. Take a listen to this report from our Jasmine Brown.
Straightforward. What is quarantine? Quarantine is quarantine. If someone has COVID and they're quarantined, they're quarantined for a reason. And, this is, you have people who are incarcerated on Election Day. You have people who are hospitalized on Election Day. You have people who are out of the country on the Election Day. And they may be registered voters, but they can't vote because of the circumstances. And so, we'll see.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis called a snap election that is set for September 16th at a time when the Bahamas has been struggling with the worst surge in COVID cases, hospitalizations, and deaths since the start of the pandemic. While officials have not given quarantine numbers during the third wave of COVID-19, we do know the Bahamas has been regularly confirming more than 100 new cases each day. Section 49C of the Parliamentary Elections Act provides that individuals who are registered to vote in a constituency may vote as a special voter in the advanced poll under certain circumstances, including illness or infirmity. However, ill voters would still be required to vote in person, albeit on an earlier date. When pressed on whether those thousands of quarantine voters will be disenfranchised, Dames said this.
COVID positive voters, would you like to have a COVID positive voter next year?
Not personally.
What does quarantine mean?
But I mean, we're talking about probably thousands of people.
What the numbers are, I don't know. I mean, you're never going to have 100% voting on Election Day. No country can boast of that unless it's a country where it is designed that way. And so we have to accept the fact that those persons who are able to vote on Election Day should be encouraged and come out to vote.
Asked about the same issue, Minister of Health Bernard Wells says he could not say what the final decision is, but he did say this.
But there is recommendations in that regard by health personnel. And think about it now. How are you going to let someone who is in quarantine, who has the potential to infect other persons, to go out into a polling station?
Now, both ministers were asked if they were worried about people breaking quarantine, and both said this is a concern. Reporting for Guardian News Network, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Okay. All right. I'm going to read this message. Oh, boy. Should I read this message? No, maybe I won't read that one. That one's tricky. Okay. Let's talk about it. What do you make of all of this? You hear what they're saying there. Would you say it's a flippant response, a nonchalant response? I don't know. But also, so many people are very concerned. Very concerned. And yet we see all of these festivities all over the place. People dancing and shaking up in the streets and on the back of trucks, wearing no masks. Okay. Yeah. So what's going on here? What do you make of it? 323-6232, 355-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. What do you make of that quarantine situation, Chester?
I don't know what more you can say, to be honest. This is not a regular time in our life. And, I don't know why people would even consider, if they're positive and have to be in quarantine, that they're being disenfranchised on a day like that. I mean, these are not normal times.
Well, I don't know why they would think. Anyway, I mean, I get it. I guess I can see why they would feel. But I mean, what do you expect to happen, though? You are in quarantine.
But also you're sick, right? I mean, you might not be debilitated, but you're sick.
Yeah.
And in normal circumstances, I think sick people, if like he said, if you're laid up in hospital, you're not going to vote. If you got such a severe bellyache on election day and you just can't stand to walk out the house, you're not going to vote. Illness is illness.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is. And this is something that's potentially dangerous for other people around you.
Mm-hmm.
You could sit this one out, maybe.
All right,
That's how I feel about it.
Let's go to the phone lines. Hear what you have to say about it. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet, Facebook us, or text us. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning.
Hi, good morning.
How you doing?
Doing well.
Great. For some reason, Chester, I know we all have the right to our own opinion, but it seems like anytime you make anything about Mr. Davis or the PLP party, he always has this thing against them. And I listened to Marvin Dame talk just now about people who are incarcerated. Those people who are incarcerated take away their own freedom because we have laws, and they're not law-abiding citizens, so then they are locked away. Okay? We know that we're in a pandemic. Yes, people want to vote. They're not incarcerated. They don't have no disability. There should be something in place. We talk about going digitalized. There should be something in place for those persons. Do not disenfranchise them because they are sick. Don't count like they are lepers or whatever. I work in a government agency, and we had about 9 persons. I talking about COVID to the point where 2 or 3 of them was in hospital. I am back to work, and I have not. I'm talking about in close proximity with 2 individuals, and I got tested negative. I am fully vaccinated. All I was told to after 2 weeks is to report back to work. I have not been tested to say since the 2 weeks if I'm sick or whatever. We talk about being consistent and doing things the right way. The government agencies are one of the biggest problems we have in the same town. They are not consistent. They're not caring about the people in the office. All they want to do is to come to work. It is wrong. You hardly have cleaners to clean the place where you work. I have to bring my own alcohol and stuff to wipe down to ensure that I don't take my illness home to my mother or to my grandchildren or to my children. This is totally unfair.
Did you say you're in close proximity to someone with COVID-19?
I'm talking about very close.
They are at work?
I was in quarantine for 2 weeks. And all I was told was to report back to work, not getting a test to say, well, hey, I'm free to come back to work.
Wow.
And it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that
we're
is
getting...
how we threaten this right now because we're not doing the proper things at work. It's not that I'm not doing the proper things at home because in my 2 weeks, I have not gone anywhere, dealt with anybody. But this is how this is transported over and over to people because things are not done correctly in priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're talking about COVID police. Are they trained? Are they aware of what they're looking for instead of just giving citations? We need to get it right in this town. This country needs to get it right. We are hurting people more than caring for them. That's my 5 cents.
Okay, we really appreciate that. And boy, that is a horrible situation that you're in. And you're not alone. We're getting text messages, same thing. People saying they work in a government office and exposure to people. And still not hearing anything from the Ministry of Health. No calls, no contact tracing.
Well, I'm hearing that there might be a discrepancy about the whole testing after 2 weeks thing, right? Because you could test positive for many weeks, that would cause you to be out of work.
No, you don't want to do that after you've been in quarantine. But like how she was saying that somebody was exposed, she should have been able to get a free test. And that's what we've been saying all along. People, right? That if you have been identified as somebody who's been in contact tracing.
She wasn't tested after the 2-week quarantine.
Well, she wasn't tested at all, I believe she was saying. But just told that she was exposed and needed to go to quarantine. And this is what people are saying. They are told these things. And some are not tested, some are tested and still don't hear from the ministry. And after 2 weeks, you can't get a test because the test could likely say you still have COVID and that could mess you up and put you back in quarantine, which I've heard horror stories about that as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And again, this is why with all of this happening, it is shocking that we've got people who are out on the streets partying and dancing up when this is going on, right? That's mind-boggling. But I've got a text here. I also want to understand the government's intelligence to prevent me from voting if I show up after being in quarantine. Yeah, that's.
I mean, that's one thing, right? That's up to you.
That's pretty scary there. Wow. This one says here, the Prime Minister indicated that he always goes by the advice of the medical professionals. I doubt he consulted with them about the feasibility of having elections in the surge, though. It is obvious to the majority of us that having an election in the surge would be detrimental to the country. This person says, I'm trying to make my appointment, but I can't find any sites that are giving the J&J vaccine. Do you know where I can? I think they've said that initially it's going to be mainly for Family Islands, but eventually, maybe after a month, I think they said it would be here in New Providence. But what's the reason you want to do J&J? Because you think it's one dose? It's not. It's going to require a booster. So.
Stay out of people's business.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just let, okay, sorry. AstraZeneca might be the way for you to go. Just saying, while you wait. You don't have time to wait. Unless you go to Family Island, you probably have to get a test to go there. So AstraZeneca, if you can get that.
Everybody was hating on AstraZeneca at the beginning, and now, it has some of the best results.
Hey. This person says here, our real problem is we need hospitals to entertain our health care, not only in Nassau, but on the Family Islands too. Our health facilities are disproportionately, I think they're trying to say, affected during the pandemic, dating back years. Another one here. I guarantee you would complain on the day it's due if the same amount of people are dying in May as now. What now? What? What's okay? And this one says, if you had leprosy, you wouldn't be able to vote. Folks forget we are in different times.
Hey, that's all I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't agree with Marvin Daines' prison suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a little odd.
That was a stretch.
Yeah. A little cold. This one here. What is more costly? Having people tested free so they can quarantine, or people not knowing and going around other people, resulting in the hospital being burdened down with severe cases of COVID? The answer. Obviously, yes. And that's what we're saying. That's when it definitely should be free. When you are exposed, when you know that you've been in contact with somebody, it shouldn't cost you nearly $200 to get a test, right? But I don't think you can find anyone to disagree with you on that one. And we don't disagree. But we do know, based on how people are, that if you can I want to go to the party and I need to get a test, I can get this free test over here. You could run the risk of seeing some very risky behaviors as a result of that. That's a little different. You see the differences there? It's a little bit different. And making it so easy for you to get a test for something like that could be as damaging as not having testing free at all.
I wonder if you'll be able to test free for travel.
And I know somebody said that months ago as to one of the reasons why they didn't do this like that. And you don't have to.
I'll tell you, people were taking advantage of the U.S. free testing for drivers to come back home.
Yeah. Let's take this call. Good morning, Paul. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Dwight.
Hi. Good morning.
Morning.
You know, to those who like to talk about, testing, just testing everybody, right? That's the thing in the past, because this pandemic is going to become a endemic, and then in other words, everybody's going to get it. So the only thing to do about that, the most effective thing to do about that, is everybody get vaccinated, so the effects don't become fatal to them, and then we talk about this thing about this people not being able to vote. I mean, what is it? That only PLPs or people that oppose the government and that they have this disease, are infected or in quarantine. So what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have any effect on who wins the election. So we can look at it like that. And then we like to talk about, we get other people are doing other things to for these people to vote. Why other people are doing other things in many areas, and we don't advocate for it, like taxation. We're not doing. You see, so we got to be careful, and and how we go about things, and and I guess we must respect everybody, but it is what it is, and you can expect for your freedom to have an effect on public health or public safety. Do you understand me? Your freedom doesn't, it doesn't work that way. You see? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. A couple messages as we get ready to go to a break here. This person says, the answer is simple. Get the vaccine. Free testing would not be as effective because you can test today and tomorrow you can get COVID-19. Vaccine is the answer. This one says, it never feels real till it hits close to home. I didn't want the vaccine, period, till my daughter and 3 children tested positive. They all recovered, thank God, but I am now going to get vaccinated. Okay. Yeah. And they go on to say, by the way, she had 1 shot down, so she only had mild symptoms. My grandkids now, however, had moderate symptoms, okay? I'm glad to hear they're doing okay, though. Okay.
Yeah.
That's scary. Okay. This one here. I think they should require a negative COVID test result at most 5 days old in order for people to vote. What now? They can call it a voting visa. The PM does make decisions based on the advice of medical professionals. He's a medical professional. Just let that sink in. You need to stop. I shouldn't have read that on the air. You need to stop. Well, unless it's free. But even then, okay. Boy, I tell you. This one says here, what? Good morning. Not everyone has the right to vote. What? And this one here, the hospital doesn't even test for COVID upon arrival. They put you in the emergency room, among others, and then find out days later that you have COVID after you're already mixed with everyone else, nurses included.
And they actually require you now, if you're coming to the hospital, to bring a test.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
This person here says, even if I had mild COVID, I would not want to vote at a poll or be somewhere with other COVID positive people because I could contract a more dangerous variant. So think about poll workers and others who have to be in contact with COVID positive voters or their ballots. COVID positive people are not all of the same party, where one party could say it's unfair for those persons to not vote this time. Okay. And a couple more as we go.
This, You want me to read this thing right here from PHA? The Princess Margaret Hospital Emergency Department advises the public that persons presenting to the emergency department who have had a PCR or rapid antigen test within 72 hours should bring a copy of their test results when seeking emergency care. This will expedite the triage process for emergency care and subsequent treatment within the department.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Oh, interesting. This one says, I feel like free testing will help solve some of the problems. Some people just don't have the cash. As bad as we want the FNM out of power, this is the worst time to call an election. We could have buried it until next year. Oh, okay. And this one says, remember, everyone in quarantine does not have COVID. If we were contact tracing properly, mere exposure puts you in quarantine. So if someone shows up to work that tests positive, then that entire office could possibly be deprived of the right to vote. Yeah, that's upsetting. All right, great. We're going to be back with more Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Traveling around the world, infecting men, women, boy, and girl, causing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19. Coronavirus, you're a pest. You've got this world in a mess. Like a lethal weapon in the dark, leaving death, destruction in your path. COVID-19, COVID-19. Oh, you've got to...
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Time for your first check of traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. Here's what's going on in your real-time traffic. We're seeing some heavy traffic on Milo Butler Highway from almost just north of Fire Trail in the northbound lanes up to Tonic Williams Darling Highway. You'll be seeing that there. Glasson Road looking a little bit better for you, but not much. You're going to be seeing heavy traffic in the northbound lane as you get closer to John F. Kennedy Drive. Elsewhere, Blue Hill Road busy at this hour north of Fire Trail up to Independence Drive, northbound lanes there. And then between St. Vincent Road and Carmichael, you're going to be seeing some building traffic there on Blue Hill Road, the northbound lanes primarily. Elsewhere, we've got at some of the major intersections, you're going to be seeing some building traffic, like Prince Charles Drive, so Prince Charles and Beatrice, and further up Soldier and Robinson and Prince Charles, and East-West Highway and Robinson Marathon. You're going to be seeing that there. That's what we're seeing so far. We'll have another real-time report for you just after the 8 o'clock news. That's your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined. We're going to take a break and be back with more Morning Blend after these messages here on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Breakfast just got better at Wendy's. Introducing the Breakfast Biggie Bag. Enjoy a double sausage muffin with 2 square sausage patties, a freshly cracked egg, and cheese served on a toasted English muffin, a medium waffle fries, and an orange juice for only $5.25, VAT inclusive. And an apple pie for just $4.
Say what?
At Wendy's, better breakfast is all day. Offers valid in participating locations. Wendy's, different inside and out.
You've tried everything. ASUS with your mother's cousin's sister's auntie, and even hiding your money under your mattress. But is your money safe? Your Bahamian dollar deposit in a member bank or credit union is insured up to $50,000. If anything happens, your deposit up to the insured value will be returned to you thanks to Deposit Insurance. Visit Deposit Insurance Corporation at www.dic.bs.
Protection for your money guaranteed with DIC.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Traveling around the world, infecting men, women, boy, and girl, causing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19. Coronavirus, you're a pest. You've got this world in a mess.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. We're changing gears. Just want to read this text, though.
Dwight, I just got to clarify. As I was reminded that the PHA thing is you're not required to bring a test, but they're telling you if you want to be served quicker, 3 hours quicker, you should bring a test.
It's recommended. Yeah. And this text here, and this shows that some of us are not are living in our own bubbles, and that's dangerous, right? And sometimes maybe I am as well. But here, listen to this person. Dwight, you're being disingenuous and analog against free testing. Very few Bahamians travel. Very few jump around to parties. And many more would like a free test to work. The last part might be the only part that's correct with what you said. I don't know. I'm probably the only person who's not traveled in the last year. I mean, it seems like everybody has. So please, that's not true. Bame's traveling as much as they were before. Yeah. And the parties can done, as they say. Right. So, So let's stop. Let's stop playing. Let's stop pretending.
I think that person's just a troll, though.
Oh, I'm not sure, but a lot of people are traveling. A lot of people don't travel, but a lot of people are definitely traveling. So, okay, we're changing gears. As we said, it's back to school time, and we know that this is not going to be easy for people with the virtual school. Most schools in the country going in that direction, as was recommended by the Ministry of Education, and we know that a lot of people struggled. A lot of students struggled last year with this. On top of regular mental pressure that people are under, we've been seeing a lot of athletes come out and discuss this now about how much this is impacting their performance. There's a lot of pressure on our people, especially our young people. We're going to talk about that this morning. Before we get to our guest, I want you to hear what some of the concerns are from the ministry within the Department of Education, what the union is saying, and what the Director of Education is saying. Take a listen to this report from our Giorgio Bain.
Wilson said teachers and students encountered a number of challenges on the first day.
Teachers and students do not have passwords. Teachers do not have their class lists. Many have not been given laptops, and internet access at schools are non-existent or inoperable.
However, Director of Education Marcellus Taylor defended the Ministry of Education, stating that those issues were school-based.
Some of the challenges that individuals may have had yesterday, and I say specify on individuals, right, is either because they did not enter some information or because they things like forget passwords in the case of students and so forth. We expect that to happen. We expect that to be the case at this time. But the system itself is up, running, and ready to go.
Wilson insisted some of the tablets that were given to students still need to be upgraded so that they can be compatible with the Ministry of Education's platform. She said this forced some teachers to get creative. However, the education director insisted issues with devices do not fall solely at the feet of the ministry.
In some cases, parents can get a tablet. You waiting on the state to bring you a tablet for your child to learn, $100 tablet, and you go say, someone would say, I'm going to wait until the government gets that if it's 3-4 months and you don't have it. Look at the learning loss that you yourself inflicted on your own child.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgie O'Bain.
Meanwhile, more than a month after
Our Georgie O'Bain with that report there. All right. That's to have to deal with on top of all the other challenges that people are facing. And joining us now, we're very pleased to welcome child psychologist and with the Caribbean Center for Child Development, Dr. Michelle Major. Dr. Major, it's been a while, but great to have you with us.
Wonderful to see you. Good morning.
Hi. This is a lot that people are enduring.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, what we know is the pandemic increased our demand and conversation about mental health, and so that brings us all the time back to what's happening and how are we coping.
Mm-hmm. All right. So as we've discussed, what we want to talk about here today is it's twofold. But it's all about mental health, mental pressure, and just in general. What we're seeing with our children, with teenagers, and how the pandemic and the learning environment is even making things more stressful for folks. We have to take a quick break for news. When we get back, we'll get really into it. And we're very pleased that you're joining us again, Dr. Michelle Major. We'll be back. Stay with us, folks. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Traveling around the world, infecting men, women, boy, and girl. Forcing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19. Coronavirus, you're a pest. You've got this world in a mess. Like a lethal weapon in the dark, leaving death, destruction in your path. COVID-19, COVID-19. Oh, you're such a killing machine. COVID-19, COVID-19. An enemy.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. And now to 21, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got a weak pressure pattern continuing to maintain light winds across the islands as an upper-level trough enhances pockets of showers and thunderstorms over portions of the islands through tonight. Boaters should be alert for possible waterspout activity, and everybody's being advised to limit direct exposure and limit outdoor time and remain as hydrated as possible due to the soaring triple-digit heat indices we're expecting once again today. For all areas, your forecast calls for partly mostly sunny, warm, humid, and hot conditions with widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. Partly cloudy tonight. Gusty winds and higher seas can be expected in showers or heavy thunderstorms for boaters. Temperature-wise today, as we said, a hot one in store, 93 Fahrenheit, 34 Celsius, your highs, but the heat index will make it feel like 105 Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to 73 Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius. I'm sure it's going to feel warmer than that, though. In your extended outlook, troughing associated with tropical depression Ida, still Ida all the way up there. moving northeastward. Will move off the southeast United States and drag near the North Bahamas, triggering some unsettled weather through Friday. So for tomorrow, Thursday, look for partly cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with widely scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms, mainly in the northwest Bahamas. A few isolated showers or thunderstorms possible elsewhere. By Friday, cloudy, hot, and humid with widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. In the tropics, we've got Tropical Depression Kate, not going to be any threat to anybody, but that's 895 miles northeast of the northern Leeward Islands. And newly formed Tropical Storm Larry, about 175 miles south of the southernmost Cabo Verde Islands. Elsewhere, we've got an area of low pressure producing some disorganized shower activity over the southwestern Caribbean Sea. That system has about a 20% chance of development through the next 5 days. That's your morning blend weather check. Brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And another check of your traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. It's looking pretty busy out there. In your real-time traffic, we've got Mile Butler Highway, heavy traffic from Fire Trail up to Tawny Williams Darling Highway. And Gladstone also busy this morning, northbound to JFK Drive. Elsewhere, Carmichael busy eastbound to Blue Hill Road. And Blue Hill Road is going to be challenging for you, especially north of Soldier Road as you get over that hill toward the Independence Drive roundabout. Elsewhere, we've got some issues on East Street. So south of the Independence Drive East-West Highway roundabout, mainly in the northbound lanes, you'll be seeing that, especially between Soldier and Independence Drive. And then pockets along East Street South. And then we've got Soldier looking pretty busy near Bernard Road and Wolf Road. That whole area is just congested for you. The northbound lanes on Soldier, and then you get to that intersection with Village Road, and then Wolf Road, and towards Marathon Road. Marathon Road near the mall is going to be busy. A lot happening there this morning. Keep that in mind, especially if you're in the northbound lanes on Marathon Road. And lots of Wolf Road going to be challenging for you this morning. Eastern Road as well. So Fox Hill Road, you're going to be seeing that traffic there. The westbound lanes up to Johnson Road, and then pockets along Prince Charles Drive. So a lot of issues out there this morning. Keep that in mind as you make your way about the streets of New Providence. That's your real-time traffic and morning blend traffic alert brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined.
Be prepared for the rainy season with an RBC loan to fund your rainy season essentials. For hurricane shutters, generators, solar power systems, or general home repair, RBC offers a range of flexible and competitive financing solutions. Let us help you get started at rbc.com/Caribbean/get-a-loan. Special conditions apply. Reimagine your rainy season readiness with RBC financing.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, this government was nowhere to be seen.
Your aid is coming from the U.S. What are you getting from the Bahamian government?
Nothing at all. Survivors questioned if help from the government would ever arrive.
As relief supplies are now finally arriving, volunteers complain about Bahamian government red tape.
At this point in time, we are on our own, and we're trying to get our government officials, please come down here and show your faces.
When they were needed most, this government was nowhere to be found.
This has been a paid political announcement by the PLP.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Take that mess from off the wall. Give that baby back its ball. Leave other people things alone. There's other ways to get involved. Don't be no fool. Stay in school.
And we are with Morning Blend, the Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strong along with Chester Robards, and we are talking with Dr. Michelle Major, the Caribbean Center for Child Development, talking about the stress, the pressure that so many of our young people, our students are under at this time, and with virtual learning, as we've mentioned, and we look back, this is the anniversary. We've been going back so long with these issues. 2 years since Dorian, today, since landfall, and COVID, 1.5 years of this. Dr. Michelle Major, it's been a lot.
Yes, it has.
A lot. Yeah. And it's understandable that so many people are feeling stressed and burnt out, and again, the lack of human interaction that a virtual system presents can be the straw that breaks the camel's back, for lack of a better term. What do we do here? How can we make this better? What can be done?
Well, I mean, I think just the fact that we're starting to talk more about our mental health and about our capacity as individuals to cope and to develop strategies to cope when we are learning to adapt to a new world, a new life. And so I think though that is important that we continue that dialogue so that there's better understanding and so that we understand, what risks we have as a result of the climate, and also how do we build more resiliency capabilities so that we can continue to survive and that it doesn't impact us in a detrimental way. And that's the most important thing, is to have this dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. What are you seeing? We've heard the union president, Belinda Wilson, talk about it, about a number of students who just have disappeared, it seems, haven't been actively involved in the virtual learning platform in the public school sector. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Are you getting that? A lot of people who just are not doing well, might have been good students before, but have become average or even below average students now?
Well, we now have a year of data in because we've been in this for such a long time. So what we now know is that, depending on the research, we're looking about 70% of the academic population cannot sustain virtual learning. That's quite a bit percentage.
70%?
Approximately 70%, yes,
oh my
are
goodness.
struggling. And it makes sense because, for the most, provided that all systems are good, that, what we're realizing is, teachers are not trained in a way to be able to educate online, because we know that interaction and stimulation is different online and required online. We also know developmentally, many of our children don't have the self-motivation and time management skills to do it. They're children. That's why we have, in school sessions, and why we have behavior management plans in classrooms, and red light, green lights, and stay in your seats, and all these, is because we're still teaching children self-motivation and time management skills and so forth. And so, they're now at home with, without the developmental skills to sit and focus and learn. And that, it puts them at a major disadvantage, most definitely. And so we're recognizing now out of the research that the most important things are increased interaction between online students, that even the communication skills of children have decreased, that their social skills with other peers have decreased significantly. And so there's a call for more teachers to do, for their peers to even meet in their subgroups, or, the ways that they can, and work on projects to talk and communicate. And to enjoy each other that way, and to increase communication skills. There's a big push for blended learning environments. What we realize is some subjects are very difficult to teach online. They're very difficult, and so, it requires hands-on. Think about certain sciences we do, and certain, and so what we're finding is that blended learning is really where the recommendation is now, so that kids are going to school for those specific classes that we know need more in person, and that they're doing the classes that are more theory-based online. And so looking at the curriculum from a different perspective has been a big call for students, so that they're maximizing their safety, but not jeopardizing their education in the long term.
Wait, are we getting that here? Do we understand that here? I mean, that's what the studies are saying, but do we get it?
I mean, I think that, again, I think that there are a lot of variables, and each individual school has a different modality. Some schools are in person right now. Some schools are in blended, but the majority are virtual at this time. And really, a result of that is because safety has come first, right? And so we have to understand that, especially bigger schools, bigger numbers, that weighing out the risks has been this whole pandemic. That's what it's been all about, right? There's no clear black and white, I'm safe this way or I'm safe that way. It's really about weighing out the risks, vaccination versus not. Nothing is pure. It's really weighing out risks. What's the risk of my child going to school in person, and that, safety measures, and what if we have an outbreak at a school that has 1,000 individuals on campus? I mean, these are serious things to consider. But on the other end, when we're weighing things out, what is the implications? How do we balance it all out is a difficult feat. Another concern that's out there that is a big thing that we're starting to see, especially as therapists, is signs of social isolation. Kids are far more social. They were socially isolated before compared to generations in the past, but beyond what we've ever imagined. And that has created a significant impact in the mental health of our youth. This social isolation that developmentally they're thriving for and need for stimulation and growth that they're not getting. And that in itself is also very damaging.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot indeed. And we you can imagine with the lack of activities and just some people just must feel they've lost their way. They've losing a piece of their identity even.
Absolutely. I mean, that, we're seeing an increase. I mean, again, this is just simply anecdotal from my perspective, but the research is also confirming that increase in, depressive symptoms, anxiety in children's, increase in social anxiety. So even though they're socially isolated and they need more exposure, as a repercussion, they're becoming more socially anxious. So now some of them need it but don't want it anymore because now it's been so long, it's difficult, and that social anxiety has developed of not feeling competent in the social environment, feeling judged, and not knowing how to behave or act. And so we're seeing some unique increases in some mental health areas and symptoms with kids.
My goodness. All right. So what do you recommend? You've got a student who just is showing so little interest in the virtual learning environment. And it's hard for you to maintain. You're working. You can't watch them all day long. You don't even know what's going on. But how can you ensure that that your child's not losing their way?
I mean, I think that's a good question. It's a bit of the $1 million question. I think of course, everything is individualized. I think, parents need more support as to if they can't have somebody there with their child, then they have to have some kind of regulatory system, whether that is, there's, apps that are out there with timers and a reinforcement system. So kids are self-regulating themselves with pennies and things like that they can cash in at the end of the day. To parents, there has to be other systems in place to teach children and those around them how to self-regulate themselves quicker and faster than we probably would in the past, because it's very difficult. There is an increase tendency now for, of course, cheating online, watching games, playing games while they're online, right? And so, all of that monitoring is very difficult to do if there's nobody else in the home to support that. And so, the acceptance that there are these smaller groups or pods being created is, in fact, a good option for the situation we're in, because at least they have a little bit of a social environment. It may be only a handful of kids. They're socially isolating, but not alone, and there's some regulation happening for them. And so as much as we can maybe create those little pods, bringing cousins together, family members together to study in one home is probably the best, option to support some of those areas that we know are a struggle.
Right. Wow. And on top of this, we saw this summer with so many athletes coming or exposing that they are feeling pressured. The pressure to excel, the pressure to be their best. And we know that children, teenagers experience this as well. And that same type of mentality in an environment like this where you just cannot seem to excel, what does that do to a student and their self-esteem?
Well, think about it. I mean, whether you're an athlete or you're a good student, I mean, it involves sacrifice. It involves, if you're an athlete, training, sacrifice, emotional and physical, struggle to, do that. I mean, you're always you have to go to practice every day. Think about athletes who can't go to practice now. Their whole life is sports, and now they can't practice. They can't, they can't go out and socialize. There's no balance in their life. Thing with kids that are home, the social part is a balance. So what's happening is that with the, our youth are always the most at risk. What we know is, the second rate of death amongst 10-year-olds to 34-year-olds is suicide, right? We know that, the majority, the hardest time in life for individuals is their teen and early adulthoods. This is the time where they are meant to struggle in so many ways. Now you've put a pandemic on it. Now you've withheld them from just classic developmental exposure that allows them to strive and grow. Their capacity, they're human like anybody else, and their capacity, to, hold back a pent up reservoir of stuff is limited. And so they don't have the strategies of knowing how to cope. Developmentally, it's not appropriate either, because this is the developmental stage to learn this stuff, right? And so with the social changes and people experiencing death and fear and, anxiety in their family life, etc., we're at a breaking point of feeling either paralyzed or panicked or, just wanting to escape. So I'm just going to, binge all day on something and just escape from the world, because, we just are struggling to cope, and our youth are at biggest risk for that.
How long, morning, Dr. Maitre, how long could these effects last in these kids? And I mean, is there something that's going to have to be dealt with long term?
Well, I think like anything, there could be long-term effects, right? There could be even post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. Think about people who lived in the Depression time, right? And so when banks closed in we knew as elderly that they were still putting their, 50 years later, they were still putting their money under a mattress, okay? Because of that time period when they were young, and that was a focus, and that was the fear, and that was a struggle. So in reality, absolutely, there will be long-term effects of going through a global crisis, not, like a world war, and as many people and generations have. We know that there will be effects of things that we've learned, fears that, have developed, behaviors that will be long-term, and depending on each person's individual experience, it may even be extreme, depending on the home environment that they live in, and the extreme trauma or stress that they might be under a long time. Think about it this way, right? If you want to change your body to go to the gym, you have to look at three things. Frequency, how often do you go to the gym? 5 days a week, let's say. You're going to change your body quicker, right? Duration. Well, if you go to the gym for 5 minutes, 5 days a week, not as impactful, right? But if you go for 3 hours, duration. And then we talk about intensity. So if you go to the gym and you own all of those two things and you only pick up a 2-pound dumbbell, you're not going to have big change in your muscles. Well, the same is for the brain and mental health. So you always have to consider when we're talking about trauma or abuse, how frequent is it? Is it daily? Is this happening every day in the child's life? Yes. How long is it lasting? Okay. The duration. And then what's the intensity? How much of the trauma is occurring? So, how much, and that's going to shift the brain. The more intense, the more duration, the more frequency, the more that brain is going to have more mental health issues in the future.
Oh, we are running out of time, but we want to get some calls in really quickly. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And if you have any questions, you can tweet us or Facebook us or text us, 422-4796. Let's hear from you on this. Chester? No?
Sorry.
Okay. Something says is a text here. What words of encouragement would you give to moms who are unable to help their kids, whether it's because they have a lack of knowledge or they're working and don't have the time? Moms beat themselves up too, and their child's perceived failures become an indictment on their parenting skills. Not the dad, but the mom. I don't know about the dad. Why not the dad? Okay. But what do you say? Both parents, all parents who are feeling this and noticing these changes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that many parents are feeling that, two things. One is that they're letting down their child because, they're limited in the ability to support them, and they are forced in that situation because of the pandemic. And so that's a very difficult and anxiety-provoking situation. A year ago, we would have said, you know what, it's okay. It's a year. It's not a big deal. Now what we're looking at is an increased fear of, okay, year's over. We anticipated by now we would be back to normal. Sure, my kid blew a year, big deal. We all blew it. And now we could get back to normal. And we're not seeing that. We're not seeing that light. And so now that's why mental health is important at this point. What we're saying now instead is all that worry and concern, there's anger, there's guilt, there's frustration, there's disappointment, there's a sense of powerlessness. These are all things that parents are feeling at extreme levels, not only in their personal lives, but also in their home lives, but even in the workforce, right? And so they're feeling all of these emotions. They're even their work product might be limited. People aren't able to give as much and do as well as they were before because everybody's just really exhausted. And really, this is a manifestation of our inability to have good coping strategies in the sense of regulating our thoughts, knowing where, when our brain goes into that dark hole, when it starts to become negative, it starts to work against us. Have those mental strategies to say, how do I get out of this? We've had behaviors, that are very important, whether that's, with prayer and meditation, and those things are very useful. But sometimes our brain has a road of itself. And so we don't know how to separate that, how to challenge kind of distorted thoughts, right? When we're in those places. And that education needs to be out there more. It's not so simple in the sense that, we can explain it in 5 minutes, but it is simple enough that if there was more knowledge about that, if there was more cognitive behavioral therapy techniques given to the wider public, then, they would, instead of having to pay to go to a therapy session, that those things would benefit so many people and should be free knowledge for everybody to have, to learn how to cope and build those resilience and skills. And I really wish that we had always made that a focus, even in school, to teach our kids to cope with, mental health and stress.
All right, let's take this call really quickly. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Michelle. I just wanted to call in and say you were spot on this morning. I think a lot of mothers in particular needed to hear this. I love everything you had to say about this, and I hope Dwight invites you back. Just speaking to mothers myself, they are overwhelmed, and they are tired, and they're looking at this upcoming school year, and they're facing it with dread and anxiety. And I think we need to hear more of this on the talk shows in terms of, like you said, the hybrid is the best model because even it allows a little bit for a break and allows them to just basically have a means to decompress while their child is in school. You teach handwriting to a child Or how are you, like you said, how are you teaching biology or chemistry or these other classes, particularly if the parents don't have the skill set? So when they're going to school, they're getting at least a bachelor's level of education, and in a lot of homes, they're not getting that, and their parents are ill-equipped to help them. And it feels like nobody is really, really, really pushing. And when you speak out to the schools, even some private schools, they take it as a slap in the face. You're offering advice and tips, and everybody seems to be offended, where you only want to work for the betterment of the kids. And this is private and at the private and public school levels. But I just wanted to say thank you so much, Dwight, for doing this show. And Michelle, such great information. Thank you so much. You really seem in tune, because the same things you said is what I'm hearing from friends and just persons just having these honest conversations. They don't even need to be friends. And that can tell you that's how bottled up some women are, because you can just run into them, just striking up a conversation, and they're spilling. And it feels like they have no one to talk to.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, thank you this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate the call. Boy, Michelle, we have to do another part of this. We definitely have to do more on this.
Yeah, I think we do have, as I said, when I used the word pent up and she said bottled up, there's a lot of suffering happening. And I think there's a lot of expectation of, you just got to be strong and, this and push through. And I think we're seeing, that, we can't. And that's when you're talking about these great athletes, Naomi, who's, dropped out of the French Open, and Simone, they had a lot of pressure. Think about it. Lots of pressure, family at home, their country, they worked hard, they had sponsors, and yet they said no. And I think that is it shows you that everybody is at a point of, despite all these pressures, despite every good word and encouragement and positive statement and do this and do that we're hitting a wall that we have to acknowledge and be aware that there are many people who are suffering, and the gravity of that.
All right, let's see if we can squeeze this call in really quickly. We've got to go, but good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I want to endorse the previous caller and say good morning to you and your guest. I just have a question, please. The statistics, the studies, are they any of them local? Because they're believable, actually. The 70% persons having problems with the virtual, etc. But I want to know if any of the research local, what we have below our belt.
Right. I don't have any local. What is beautiful about pandemic studies now is that they are global, though.
Yes, I believe you. I do believe you.
Yeah. So we're seeing them from all over the world, whether we're talking about Europe or Asia, America, everywhere. And what we are seeing for the first time is a number of studies all being done global with the same kind of results. We're all in this situation, no matter what part of the world we're in. Nobody is escaping this. So it's much easier.
I dare say our situation may be even worse.
Correct. That is correct.
Because we are not necessarily in the first world level of education per se. So our situation may be even worse.
Well, if you hear from Belinda Wilson, she says it's thousands. It's thousands of students whom teachers have not heard from since last September. Barely have they been logging on. If they're on one day, and they've essentially dropped out. And what's happening? What's happening with them? It's scary. Yeah. Dr. Michelle Major, we're gonna do a part 2 on this, definitely. Especially the further we get along with this school year, we'll see how things are going and see if we can provide more resources, more advice for parents and students who are struggling at this time.
Okay.
Thank you so much. How can people get in contact with you? How can people reach you?
They can call us at the office at 393-5963. We're on Facebook, Caribbean Center for Child Development, and online. So feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to support in any way we can. Okay.
Thank you again. Always a pleasure. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are talking with the U.S. Embassy. We've got an exciting announcement to make here on the show. Stay tuned for that. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
the warm. Give that baby back and forth. Leave other people things alone. There's other ways to get involved. Get involved, don't be no fool, stay in school. Let your mind become a tool. Jails were made for fools to be. Locked away from society, society. Get involved, get involved.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been in relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Do you need to insure your vehicle at the best price? With the most options and free installment payments, CG Atlantic agents offer affordable coverage for everyone. Just call 677-6422 to find out how you can protect your vehicle with extra options to keep you covered. Why wait? Call CG Atlantic agents today at 677-6422. Visit us online at cgatlanticagents.com or in person at Atlantic House, 2nd Terrace and Collins Avenue. Nassau Insurance Brokers and Agents Limited, trading as CG Atlantic Agents.
Now that your age is nothing, now that your kids call you for advice, now that you can achieve anything you set your mind to, why stop? Nourish your strength and energy with Ensure. Ensure provides protein, antioxidants, key vitamins and minerals to support your immune system. Now that it's your moment to enjoy your vitality, why stop? Your life, your health, your Ensure.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Somebody's hand, make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. If you can, just try. Take a little time out of your busy day to give encouragement.
And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. And this morning we're very pleased to have with us the Charge d'Affaires with the U.S. Embassy in Nassau, Lucia Pitts, joining us live. Good morning. Great to have you with us. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dwight. Good morning to you. It's great to be on the show.
All right, so we have a lot to talk about this morning. And we're looking forward to this. This is an interesting initiative. We're going to be working on a partnership with the Embassy and Morning Blend. And let's talk about it. Why did you think this was important? And let's tell folks what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, sure, Dwight. I'd be happy to. But before I do anything else, I just want to be mindful of the date today, September 1st, and what it means in Bahamian history. This was, of course, the anniversary of Hurricane Dorian in 2019. And I just wanted everyone to know that I wasn't in the Bahamas at the time. I didn't even know I would be coming to the Bahamas, but I will never forget those images. And I know how many people suffered then. So my condolences to the Bahamas this morning.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. So what we're here to talk to everyone about today is the COVID vaccination campaign. The U.S., of course, donated vaccines to the Bahamas, but now we've got to move on to phase 2, right? Getting the vaccines into people's arms. So I'm very happy today to announce a national COVID vaccine raffle. This raffle, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And Dwight, thank you so much for agreeing to partner with us on this. This raffle will allow vaccinated Bahamians to participate. Everybody who's gotten their first sign up to participate in the raffle. And we've been collecting some pretty cool prizes.
Wonderful stuff. Now, let's talk a little bit more about it. Why do you think that is going to be something that will be encouraging, that's going to work with some folks who are still a little reluctant, a little hesitant about vaccines?
Yeah, right. I mean, you know, it's important to hit all sides of it, right? You've got to do education, you have to do outreach, you have to make sure there's availability. But I think a lot of that is out there. So now it's time to look at actual incentives. And I think I was really kind of surprised by the different incentives that different US states came up with. And one of them were these statewide raffles. So you saw that states like Maryland, Michigan, Ohio came up with these raffles, and they were amazingly effective. And in one case, I think they saw an increase in vaccination rates, particularly from young people, of 50%. So, you know, where education fails, nothing like a cool prize to succeed. And so I thought, you know, why not try it and see if this catches on in the Bahamas?
Mm-hmm. All right. So what type of prizes are we talking about here?
Right. So we've got some really cool prizes. We have day trips to some of the islands like Exuma and Eleuthera, which, by the way, I haven't visited. So frankly, I would be all over that prize myself. We've got dinners for 2. So if you know, a lot of people haven't been out lately. If you're vaccinated and you feel like it's time for date night, we've got that in our prize list. We've got some of our famous hotels here in the Bahamas have offered both overnight stays as well as day passes. So there's a lot of mixed prizes, pretty much something for everyone. And we're still collecting them. So we will load more prizes, and we'll just keep this raffle going until we run out.
Oh, I was going to ask you, so how long do you think the campaign will go? So as long as you can get the prizes in, you're going to be offering these to vaccinated individuals.
Yeah. So right now we've got enough prizes for a couple of months, and we're going to do the drawings 3 times a week. Dwight, you can you're going to host that side of things, right? So we'll announce
right here on Morning Blend.
Right here on Morning Blend at around this time, right? Around 10 to 9 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We will announce the prizes. And like I said, we have about 2 months worth of prizes, but if any of your listeners want to donate additional prizes, please just shoot us an email at vaxbahamas@gmail.com, and we will just keep adding prizes.
All right. Excellent stuff. So again, how do people enter? If they are vaccinated, what do they need to do?
Right. So as soon as you've gotten your first jab, you are eligible to enter the raffle. So you get your first jab by signing up for an appointment at vax.gov.bs or go to one of the walk-in sites. And then once you've had that first jab, you can go to our website to sign up for the raffle. And our website is vaxbahamas.com. That's VAX all one word, .com. And that website is live now. So if any of your listeners are like, yeah, let's get this going, they can sign up right now. And of course, you know, it'll be the chances of winning a prize are much higher earlier in the raffle, right? But as more and more people sign up, then your chances go down. So I encourage everybody to sign up as soon as they've gotten the first jab, because then you have a better chance of winning a prize.
So first, you don't even need to be fully vaccinated yet. Just as long as the first one, that's fine. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. You know, just the first shot gives you a lot of protection against COVID. Of course, we want to encourage everyone to get their second shot as soon as they're eligible. But, you know, I think that most people, once they get past that first shot, they realize it doesn't hurt. It's no big deal. They're going to be fine. Then that's the part that we're really concerned about, is getting people over that initial hump. So first jab and you're in the raffle.
Mm-hmm. Wow. All right. This is great. And when's the first drawing when we're going to do that?
Right. So we're going to give people a couple of weeks to sign up, and then we're going to have our first drawing right here on the show with you on Monday, September 13th at 8:50 in the morning. Around then, we will do our first drawing and then continue it 3 days a week until we run out of prizes.
Okay. The big question here, are Chester and myself eligible to enter to get some prizes?
You don't think it's a little bit of a conflict of interest? Because believe me, I thought about the same thing myself, right?
So the prizes sound good, but I don't know if I'm going back for another shot.
No, you don't have to, right? If you're already vaccinated.
Isn't it the first shot then?
Yeah. So some people will be getting, some Bahamians will be getting the Johnson & Johnson, which is just one shot. So obviously they don't need to go back to get their second shot.
All right, so this is not for people who've been vaccinated from that time. No, you're ready. No incentives for you. You already did it.
Oh yeah, but no, we'll take any Bahamian who's been vaccinated already. We don't. Yeah, we're not.
There you go, Chester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. We'll take anybody.
Everybody's been vaccinated. So no matter how long ago, you can enter, as long as you work for the Guardian or for the U.S. Right.
I'm still exactly.
Right. All right. Excellent stuff. And we're going to be talking about not just giving away these prizes, but we're going to be talking a lot more about what people need to know, the questions that people have about COVID and vaccines as well over the next few weeks on the show.
Yeah, right. Because, as we were talking about at the outset, it isn't just about, incentives. It's also about education, because a lot of people, it doesn't matter how much you incentivize them, they have concerns. They're scared to get the shot, or they're worried about its effects of the vaccine. So we're going to take advantage of this opportunity, not just to have some fun with the raffle, but also to provide some real information and allow people who still have questions to call in and ask them. Yeah.
This is great. This is going to be a great time, and a lot of great information is going to come out of this as well. And hopefully people who have been on the fence, this might be the little thing to nudge them over to the vaccination side of things. And of course, we know that this is providing a lot of protection to people, especially as these new variants are emerging. And as Delta is just kicking everybody's butt right now, unfortunately. But this is helping a lot of people to stay alive.
Yeah, it is. It is a super scary time around the world. And so, even though the rates of vaccination are pretty high in the Bahamas right now, they're doing about 2,000 jabs a day, which is great. But we want to just keep that momentum going. I heard your previous speaker talking about online learning and the effects on young people. It's extremely traumatic, and I fear that we are never going to get out of this until we get the majority of people vaccinated. So it's important that we really kind of keep our eyes on the prize here.
Yeah, definitely. Usha Pitts, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll talk again over these next few weeks, but thank you. Thank you for this, and we're very excited to see where this goes.
Hey, thank you so much, Dwight. And again, thank you for agreeing to partner with us on this effort to get these life-saving vaccines into the arms of Bahamians. So thank you so much. And we'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks for the first drawing, right?
That's right.
Okay, take care.
All right. So again, that's vaxbahamas.com. Everybody can get on there, register for this, and we'll do that first drawing September 13th. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. We're going to take a break for news. When we come back, Morning Blend Business, more on COVID and the workplace, what we're hearing now from companies here locally and abroad, their views on the directions that this is going, and what you think about all of it. That's coming up. Stay with us. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Why don't you reach out and touch somebody's hand? Make this world a better place if you can.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, this government was nowhere to be seen.
Your aid is coming from the U.S. What are you getting from the Bahamian government?
Nothing at all.
Survivors questioned if help from the government would ever arrive.
As relief supplies are now finally arriving, volunteers complain about Bahamian government red tape.
At this point in time, we are on our own, and we're trying to get our government officials, please come down here and show your faces.
When they were needed most, this government was nowhere to be found.
This has been a paid political announcement by the PLP.
Jamal, you just sitting there, drinking coconut water and smiling. Do you realize the children's school fees are due?
Yep.
And you know we gotta fix this roof, right?
Uh-huh.
And the house insurance is due again.
No problem.
No problem? How are we going to afford it all?
Honey, relax. I went to B.O.B. It's all taken care of.
Apply today for a B.O.B. consumer loan or switch and save on your mortgage with B.O.B. Your bank of solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
Is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. And this morning we're going to be talking about, once again, talking about vaccinations and the workplace and the changes that we're seeing here locally and abroad on the stance with vaccines, and get your views on the developments, what we're seeing now and what we're likely to see in the future. Before we do that, though, we just want to say on our previous segment just now about the National Vaccination Raffle with the U.S. Embassy, we got a question in as we went to the break about whether if you're a Bahamian, you're vaccinated somewhere else, if you could take part in this raffle. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The embassy says that is not a problem at all. As long as you are vaccinated, show proof of your vaccination, and you can enter to take part in these raffles. So, and again, you can listen each week. The winners will be announced here on the show. All right. So here is one of the latest local stories on this. Chester Robards. Chester writing about this in today's Guardian Business section. An uptick in super value staff getting vaccinations. And Chester, I should let you read this, but anyway, the number of super value employees getting vaccinated has begun to increase as the country received Pfizer vaccines, according to the company's owner, Rupert Roberts. He told Guardian Business that Super Value informed its staff in a memo last week that the company encourages them to be fully vaccinated by the end of September, or alternatively, provide a negative test weekly in order to come to work. Roberts said the staff have been sporadically getting vaccinated, but the staff memo reveals that about 30% of the staff have already been vaccinated. According to Roberts, it seems much of the staff were waiting for alternative vaccines to AstraZeneca. Roberts saying, quote, "I don't know why so many people were waiting for Pfizer, but they seem to be waiting on new vaccines. Now vaccines are here and they're going out and getting vaccinated. Now we're going to start checking to see who's vaccinated, the percentage. The staff has always been very careful and conscious not to get the virus and not to spread the virus." Roberts says the memo explains where the company is as its policies about COVID-19 and prevention have evolved over the past year. That memo read, quote, "We are encouraging all staff to be vaccinated. There have been so many more new cases and deaths that tourists have been advised not to travel to the Bahamas, and Bahamians have been advised to be careful traveling abroad. There is a new Delta Plus variant that spreads 60% faster and is more contagious than the old Delta variant. In order to save your life, keep the economy going, and avoid a permanent lockdown, all employees should get vaccinated immediately. We estimate that less than 30% of our staff have been vaccinated, and we have to set an ambitious goal to have all staff take their first shot by the end of August and be completely vaccinated by the end of September. In the interest of your safety and the interest of the company, our customers, and the country, we expect your full cooperation. Please ask your head cashier if you need assistance making your appointment. Any employee that breaks quarantine will be dismissed. After September, any employee that is not completely vaccinated will have to provide a negative test weekly." And just we're assuming that that is on their own cost. Is that what that means there?
Yeah, that's good sense.
Mm-hmm. Robert says that some of his employees have experienced deaths and sickness in their families and have decided on their own that the vaccine is the safest option for them. All right. So some very interesting statements there, and a very interesting stance. And we know that there have been others who've talked like this. In fact, there will be more, especially in light of Pfizer, as Robert says, Pfizer being available, but also Pfizer getting fully FDA approval there. So, yeah, interesting. What else are you hearing from companies, Chester? Are we likely to see more of this? And we do want to hear from our listeners. What do you make of this? How do you feel about a company issuing a mandate like that? Is that going to change your view on anything?
Well, the interesting part about that one is it actually is not mandated. It is strongly suggested. But, the downside to not being vaccinated there is that you have to test every week. And, I actually know some people who are still not vaccinated who have to test every week, and they're doing that. I don't know why, but it's something they've chosen to do.
They're doing what? Sorry? What are they doing?
They're testing for work every week.
Not required to, but they are doing it.
No. They
are required.
If they're not vaccinated, they are required.
Yes. Okay.
And they're not vaccinated, and they don't look like they plan on getting vaccinated.
And they don't have an issue with it.
Doesn't seem so.
Yeah.
So
I've actually heard some people say that to me as well, that they will continue to test and they won't get the vaccine, and that's that. Okay.
Yeah, don't quite understand it, but but a lot of companies seem to, if not taking the iron fist approach, seem to be strongly suggesting that the staff vaccinate.
Yeah. Well, this is happening all over the U.S. We're hearing many companies that are requiring this now, from Amtrak. The railroad service is requiring all of its 17,500 employees to by November 1st or submit to weekly COVID testing. Starting October 4th, all new hires will be required to get vaccinated against the virus. With BlackRock, that's... Okay, so let's go down to Citigroup. Citing the Delta variant, the bank announced on August 11th that employees will need to get vaccinated before returning to its offices. Employees at offices in New York, Chicago, Boston, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia will be expected to return at least 2 days a week, and vaccination is required starting September 13th. Delta, the airline, announced in May that it will require all new U.S. hires to be vaccinated against the coronavirus effective May 17th. And it says that the company would not be putting in place a wide mandate to require current employees to be vaccinated.
Interesting.
Facebook announced that it was pushing back its return to office until January 2022, citing ongoing concerns with the Delta variant. When the offices reopen, they will be requiring anyone coming to work at any of their U.S. campuses to be vaccinated. And Ford has said that, it will require employees who partake in international business travel to be vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
And it is strongly encouraging all team members who are medically able to be vaccinated. But the UAW, the United Auto Workers Labor Union in the U.S., said it would be reinstating a mask mandate for all of its facilities nationwide. So the union is stepping in there.
I think the Army, the armed forces in the U.S. recently said everyone needs to be vaccinated.
Oh, yeah. Netflix is requiring vaccinations for all casts of all productions, all U.S. productions, as well as individuals who work with them on the set. NBC Universal is requiring U.S.-based workers returning to the office later this fall to be fully vaccinated. And employees will also be required to provide details about their vaccination status. And the New York Times says they'll be requiring proof of vaccination for those who want to go into the office voluntarily. All right, so that's just a hint of what's going on, and there's a lot more available online about what people are doing. But what is happening here? What has your company said to you? We got that call about people in the public service, in the government offices here, and how these are hotbeds for COVID. And that was a very passionate call from that caller telling us about what's happened there, how she had gone quarantine for 2 weeks because somebody very close to, in her working proximity, came down with COVID, and that put her in quarantine. And that was about the election and people who are going to be in quarantine through no fault of their own. But this is what's happening. Should there be, the Prime Minister said it, that urging those who don't have to go in the office to work at home. Are people doing that? Are businesses being flexible enough?
Is the government being flexible enough?
Is the government being flexible? Right? What's really happening out there?
Yeah.
Give us a call, folks. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us. Yeah, go on, Chester.
No, I was going to say, and the other thing is, for some of those companies, like you mentioned, still don't have people coming into the office, so they don't really have that problem with whether or not staff have vaccinated or not. So there are some companies still who have lots of people working from home, and they probably put out memos saying, "Yeah, it would be nice if you get vaccinated, but continue to stay safe."
Yeah. Do you think that what Roberts is saying, Rupert Roberts, and this stance that Super Value has is going to be encouraging to folks? They're a major employer, a major business in the country. Will that help a lot of people? And hearing that more people seem to be interested in Pfizer, will that encourage? And will what we're doing here with this raffle with the U.S. Embassy, is that going to help?
Well, what Mr. Roberts told me was also, I'm not sure I put this in the story, but it was that a lot of his staff have been seeing their family members get sick.
Right.
They've seen a lot of their family members die, and that, in conjunction with the fact that they now have the choice of vaccination type, are leading more and more of his staff to go get vaccinated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's hitting closer to home than it did even last year, which is insane. And we knew so many people last year, but now it's like the degrees of separation are greatly reduced.
Yeah, I personally didn't know that I can remember anyone last year who passed away from COVID.
Right.
This year for sure.
Right. Last year was people you heard of, people you knew, like acquaintances perhaps. But this year, I mean, friends and family members.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Let's go to the phone lines. Good morning, caller. You're on Morning Blend Business.
Dwight?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I was just calling to find out, did you hear about Israel? The fifth strand has been reported in Israel, and the vaccines that they're giving actually are not working. They're saying that it's not even doing anything for the the populace there.
Well, we've not heard that last part. We know that, yes, the cases are going up in Israel and hospitalizations are going up, but that the people are faring a lot better than the unvaccinated people. That's what we're hearing. Maybe you're getting your news.
That's what you heard? Because I heard something different. I heard that the vaccine is not even helping the vaccinated people as well.
No, that's not what we just had this discussion last week on the show. And that's not what the multiple sources we read are saying at all. That there are people who are getting very sick, but they also had other issues, other comorbidities. But that the vaccinated people are faring much better than the unvaccinated, as has been the case.
Well, Dwight, I know that sometimes some of the things that you don't want to be said on the radio, you rebuttal. But I know just what I heard. I know that I heard that the vaccine is not helping the unvaccinated, and the vaccine isn't helping the vaccinated persons as well. And I know I'm not going deaf.
So what does that mean?
You're talking about Israel, right?
Yeah, what does that mean to you? So what? Don't get the vaccine? That's what you're saying? Or
that
what?
means that means I know what I heard, and that should be reported as well. Because
where did you hear it
we're
from?
only hearing the downside.
And where did you hear it from?
Of this, I heard it off CNN, and I also said to you just now that this means that we got to report the upside of the vaccine and the downside. You don't really report the downside. Report both of them so you can get a full report of what's happening. You know, because it sounds like you're just hitting on the unvaccinated, but you gotta talk about the vaccinated as well.
Yeah, and again, we have. Thank you very much, caller. We talked about this last week. We read for our listeners many different sources of what's happening there. I'm going to read another story. It's one just published yesterday from the Times of Israel, and what's happening there. But take a listen to this. More than 10,900 new cases of COVID were confirmed in Israel on Monday, marking a record one-day high since the outbreak of the pandemic. The new record appeared to be the product of the worsening outbreak combined with more tests being conducted this month than in the past, when the rate of positive results was at times significantly higher than it is now. Additionally, more of those diagnosed with the coronavirus are children, thanks to a mass effort to test them ahead of the new school year, which starts Wednesday, meaning a significant portion of the new cases are among those who are at risk of serious illness and cannot yet be vaccinated. That's very significant, and this is what we read last week. A lot of the cases are with children who were not eligible or not able to be vaccinated as yet. The positivity rate among those tested remained over 7% for the third consecutive day, as 10,947 of the 410 tests carried out on Monday came back positive. It's a lot. Until now, the highest one-day total of new cases was set in mid-January, with 10,118 positive tests in one day. At the time, the number of daily tests was lower, and the positivity rate was around 10%. As of Tuesday morning, there were 83,540 active cases in Israel, with 1,122 hospitalized, 719 in serious condition, and 172 of those on ventilators. Since the start of the pandemic, 7,043 people with COVID have died in Israel, including more than 500 in August. Schools are slated to open nationwide Wednesday, today, despite the ongoing rise in new cases. According to the Cannes public broadcaster, more than 90,000 students are currently in quarantine, 90,000, due to either being infected or having come in contact with someone who tested positive, and more than half of those who tested positive on Monday were school-aged children. Are we listening to what's being said here, folks? According to one news site, 33% of those who tested positive on Monday were under the age of 11, and 15% were aged 12 to 18, while just 4% were over 60. Current health ministry guidelines ban open-air gatherings of more than 5,000 people for mass events like concerts, while personal celebrations are capped at 500. As of Tuesday morning, 2,157,299 people in Israel, more than 23% of the overall population, had received a third booster dose of the COVID vaccine. Close to 115,000 people received their third dose on Monday, a one-day high since the booster dose campaign began there on August 1st. On Sunday, health ministry officials opened up the booster doses to the entire eligible population, those aged 12 and up, whose last dose had been at least 5 months earlier. And they announced that those who will have received 3 doses will no longer be required to undergo an extended quarantine after returning from abroad. All right, so that's important stuff. Again, it's mainly, largely unvaccinated people, a lot of children. This variant has been harder on children. We've been thinking, based on previous variants, that children were just carriers, maybe, but that's not been the case. They've been getting sick and having to be hospitalized, and so that's a serious thing. So nobody's hiding any information, but it is very important to listen carefully or read carefully what you are getting. And it has been clearly stated for a couple of weeks now that what we're seeing in Israel is what's happening amongst the unvaccinated.
Why would you be hiding Israeli information anyways?
I don't know. Somebody thinks I'm part of the Bill Gates conspiracy. I don't know what's going on. But okay. All right.
Besides, you can't hide it. It's all over online.
We have another call? Yeah, let's take that call. Good morning, caller. You are on the air. Hi, caller. Are you there? Did we chase you off? No, okay. All right. Call us back. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. And so I don't understand it, why that keeps happening. And it's a lot of the people who don't want to take the vaccine bringing up these points that in countries, based on the number of people who are vaccinated, they're hearing that the numbers are going up, but not connecting the dots that the numbers are going up amongst the people who are not vaccinated. Just because you have 90% of your population vaccinated, it's not that high in Israel anyway, but it's a high number, higher than most countries. Just because you have a large number of people vaccinated doesn't mean that everybody's vaccinated, right? And there are a lot of people who can't get the vaccine. And
well, they also explained the positivity numbers.
Right.
They tested a whole lot of children ahead of the school year.
Yeah. Children. Let's go back to the line. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well.
Manchester. Listen, I know we were discussing pandemic, but if you give me I just want to deviate just a little bit for a second, Dwight. What is concerning me right now, I'm a Dorian survivor. I'm getting up this morning and looking at the newspaper. I wonder whether or not we have 2 different countries, because other than a little small news story about Abaco's Chamber, they say the stores are closed. There's no recognition of the largest natural disaster and loss of lives that we've had in this country. And I've seen so many other countries recognize when they have the biggest natural disaster ever. 2 years ago, around this kind of time, the water on the front street was already about 5 feet to 6 feet high. Very raging and moving cars. I just find it seems like as if things don't happen in Nassau, it ain't real. And I think we need to do more about recognizing the entire country and the pain and suffering of the entire country as opposed to just Nassau. Because I'm sure had this storm happened in Nassau, every front story this morning on the dailies would have been biggest natural disaster ever. And as I sit here and reflect,
I hear you. I mean, it's possible. It is possible, but I think there's so much going on. It's really no excuse. No excuse. I agree with you. And even we just barely mentioned it on the show this morning. But there's so much with COVID. The numbers are out of control. And with the election, it's really unfortunate that it is not getting the attention that it deserves 2 years to the day. And I don't know what else to say. But I don't think it is entirely because it wasn't Nassau. I don't think it was entirely that. I just think it's just the timing is so off. I mean, that sounds harsh to say it like that, but I do believe that is what it is. But I know we will never forget. Nobody will ever forget Dorian, and it's just the weirdest time for the world. But I understand you completely, and I agree with you. And I wish it could be different. Yeah, absolutely. Boy, that's rough. It is rough. And I knew that was going to happen as well. I felt it because it's just so much going on. It's just so much for all of us to process. The kids are back in school this week, and everybody's concerned about that. You've got, again, the COVID numbers are out of control. The hospital, so many people dying, so much. And then the election. It's wild. Let's take this call before we take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. Hi.
Yeah, we always talking about taking the shot, right? Even when you take the shot, you still catch COVID, but the symptoms are milder, right? So why not just work on preventing from together? You know, they have proven other remedies out there that even you take these stuff, you would not get COVID. But also, too, if you do catch COVID and you're not taking them before and you start taking them, the symptoms will be less severe and you recover fast. So why just keep pushing this job? What's behind the curtain?
What's the things you're talking about?
The other medications that the mass media don't want to speak about, the ivermectin,
the horse medication, the horse deworming medication. Yeah, that's what you mean. You'd rather take that.
Okay. There you go again. The horse deworming medication.
That's what it is. We're not trying to make it. We're not trying to.
Okay, just throw down the drain. But guess what? If we start taking it, and it's proven that it helps you, because I've had a relative and took the same horse deworming medication, and in 3 days they were well.
Your relative is a horse? What are you talking about?
No. You said it's a horse. It's a horse medication, but
it is.
You're trying it off on some type of hoax or some type of gimmick. But the same medication that they took, and in 3 days they were well.
This relative is in the Bahamas?
Yes, a Bahamian. And don't knock it. And it's proven out there because the mass media is like they're trying to. It's like, hey, the puppet master wants you to say it, so they push the hand upside the puppet and move it to say what the puppet master wants to say. It's not just this you're pushing this job, because if I get the job, first of all, when I got the job the first time, it was okay. Then I need a second, then I need a booster. And guess what? You're not fully vaccinated after getting the second job until 2 weeks later. So if anything happens between you the last job and 2 weeks later, and if you die, you didn't die from the job, you died from underlying illness. Because 2 weeks hasn't passed yet before they continue to be fully vaccinated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Hey, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. No. Oh, okay. No. What about the other one?
I'd like to make a contribution.
Hi. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight. Long time listener, first time caller.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, somewhat of a critic of yours and Chester's. I from time to time, but this is my first time calling in. I sent you guys a message on August 16th it relates to what Chargé was mentioning about incentives to take the vaccine as opposed to coercing people. And you guys kind of like flippantly dismissed me. And
Well, it depends.
I'm just saying that I try to be fair, you know. I critically analyze everything you say. But, you know, the Chargé came on and you took it rather without any sort of criticism. And it's the very same thing. I could send you the text again and you could read it over.
Sure, do that.
Yeah, I was mentioning what Ohio was doing and how it would, you know, not convince, but allow people to use their free will. And you know, I was saying the government needs to be a little more creative as opposed to just shoving people. Allow people to make the steps. Me, personally, I'm about to take my vaccine on Saturday. Not here, I'm going to Florida to get my Johnson & Johnson. But, you know, seeing as though Pfizer is fully approved by the FDA, I encourage my mother to take it. I encourage my girlfriend, my fiance, to take it. And my daughter will be 12 in November, and she's going to take it as well. But it's all by choice, and I appreciate them, you know, utilizing their free will. But the incentive will get the ones that are sitting on the fence. Trust me, it works.
Okay. All right. We apologize if we made fun of your expression. I think it might have, if I remember correctly, it might have been a little extreme. It might have been. But anyway, send it to us again. We'll see.
The incentives might have been extreme.
I think. But I mean, Ohio's the one doing the lottery, right? I mean, I was thinking, well, you can't. Was it Ohio? Somebody was doing
lottery.
There was like a big jackpot. And like, oh, this is a bit much. We need the money we could put that money towards testing,
I don't know if we could
right?
do that. Yeah.
Testing and more vaccines, as opposed to paying people to come and get tested. But so perhaps that was what the reaction was. Oh boy, I want to meet the relative of that guy who took the ivermectin thing. I gotta have that one on the show. So yeah, please.
Ivermectin, huh?
That person can talk. Anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to get more again. What is your workplace telling you? Are they making you feel like you have to get vaccinated? Do you support these mandates? Do you feel comfortable working around people who are not vaccinated? Let's talk about it. What needs to happen? Is it time for the government to step in and to mandate these? Or will that cause the end of the country's civilization? I don't know. Let's talk about it. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. We're going to be back in a bit.
Around the world, infecting men, women, boy, and girl, causing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID. Fast rates, no delays. Fast rates, no delays.
BTC gives more savings on the best fiber internet. It's super fast with super savings in every package. Compare and enjoy up to 150 megabits per second plus 157 TV channels and unlimited home phone minutes for only $99.99.
Fast rates, no delays.
Visit a BTC store to sign up for the best internet experience on the Bahamas' best fiber network. Conditions apply.
Be prepared for the rainy season with an RBC loan to fund your rainy season essentials. For hurricane shutters, generators, solar power systems, or general home repair, RBC offers a range of flexible and competitive financing solutions. Let us help you get started at rbc.com/Caribbean/get-a-loan. Special conditions apply. Reimagine your rainy season readiness with RBC financing.
Let me ask you a few questions. What's your name?
Pam.
Favorite food?
Steak.
Beer or wine?
Wine.
Is your money safe?
It's under my beds, I guess so.
Are you serious?
Why?
Unless your money is in a bank or credit union that's a member of the Deposit Insurance Corporation, there's no guarantee it's safe.
Yeah, but what if something happens to the bank?
Your Bahamian dollar deposits are insured up to $50,000, so you'd still be ahead. Plus, your mattress might catch fire. Then what?
Man, those banks and credit unions are looking good right about now.
Visit the DIC's website at www.dic.bs. Protection for your money, guaranteed with DIC.
This week, the FNM is Rolling Red in Nassau. Drive up to the Rolling Red Candidate Launch and Rally this Wednesday, the 1st of September at the Carnival Grounds, QE Sports Center, 6 to 8 p.m. It's a drive-in rally, y'all, so stay in your cars and trucks. Live entertainment featuring KB, Sammy Starr, Synovia Pierre, and DJ Tang. COVID protocols will be observed. Join the FNM this Wednesday, and let's roll red.
We coming back with ya.
This has been a paid political announcement from the Free National Movement.
Hurricane season is here. If you're not prepared, it can really turn your life upside down. Fortunately, there's CG Atlantic General. Our people are here, ready to assist at a moment's notice, with protection like alternative accommodation for those who are displaced due to a storm. It's our priority to make sure you have what you need when you need it most. So when your life gets turned upside down, we can help to turn it around. CG Atlantic General. Good like that. Security and General Insurance Company Limited, trading as CG Atlantic General. Contact a CG Atlantic General broker today.
This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
Final traffic watch this morning and the southwest region of the island is where the heaviest traffic congestion have developed this morning. It's still very challenging for the single-lane traffic that's leaving Gladstone Road. That line really grew in the past hour, and it's a slow ride out to JFK. Traffic is backed up on a familiar distance behind the hill getting out. It's doubly as troubling looking at Samalawala Highway. Those north lanes exiting onto Tony Swing and Darling, well, those dual lanes are backed up at least 3/4 of the way, and in a slow ride getting out through the roundabout at Tony Swing and Darling. Even though the amount of traffic is causing a minor slow for Tony's $1 million west traffic getting into that roundabout, the delays are still mainly on the Samalapala Highway side. At this hour, the Carmichael Road and Blue Hill Road intersection also has really slowed down. The Carmichael Road exit on the Blue Hill Road is really backed up extensively already. The line is moving, but the backup has grown as well. Now, traffic coming in from the deep south, further past St. Vincent Road on Blue Hill Road, they're also being held up in a slow ride getting through that same intersection. And it's also compounded by the slowdown on top of the hill at Blue Hill Road getting into the Tony Swin and Darling roundabout below. If you're anywhere in that southwest region still, well, unfortunately, you're in for a slow ride out this morning. The remainder of the island not having that level of delay and congestion going on at this time. This National Traffic Report is the service of Dr. Danny Johnson Associates at Foot and Ankle International, who's offering the simplest and safest treatment for foot injuries, ingrown toenails, corns, heel pain, and more. Visit Foot and Ankle International for relief. They're located Dean's Lane atop the hill at Fort Charlotte. Call them at 302-5402 for more info. With your Ryan Sky, look at traffic in real time. I'm VANN.
Michael was in a horrible car accident. Prudential Loss Adjusters managed his claim and got him the settlement he deserved. Sierra's roof received hurricane damage. Thanks to Prudential, she and her kids are happy with their claim settlement. Tammy fractured her ankle in a slip and fall. Prudential saved her time, money, and peace of mind. Prudential Loss Adjusters are here for you whenever a tragedy strikes. Call 322-4026 now.
Protect the things that really matter to you. Shield Insurance Company that grows with you to meet your insurance needs through this beautiful adventure we call life. From automobile to home to life and health, boat, liability, construction, and business insurance, Shield has affordable policies, flexible options, friendly service, and the expertise to protect your hard-earned assets. Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau, call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's time for Morning Business Report, brought to you by CFAL. Disaster Reconstruction Authority Chairman John Michael Clark says it would now cost about $500 million to reconstruct public infrastructure destroyed by Hurricane Dorian 2 years ago. The Category 5 storm barreled through parts of Abco and Grand Bahama 2 years ago today, causing billions of dollars in damage and claiming countless lives. Clark, revealing earlier this week that the DRA, Disaster Reconstruction Authority, has to date spent more than $43.6 on rebuilding projects, including small home repairs, cleanup and debris waste management, streetlight replacement, airport terminal renovations, and runway lighting, as well as building modular homes. Clark says he expects at least $500 million to be spent when it's all said and done. Shadow Minister for Finance Chester Cooper saying that the government's pre-election economic and fiscal update report remains in breach of the law as it contains no information on contracts government entered into since the passage of the 2021-2022 annual budget. Cooper maintaining in a statement that the report cannot be accurate without considering outstanding contracts, especially contracts distributed by the governing PLP just before the 2017 general election, were a huge impetus for the FNM government's development of the law. Cooper saying that this was the precise reason this provision in the law was created, explained when it was tabled and debated in Parliament. Cooper also saying the report is in breach of the law as it contains no information on the contracts. Guardian Business attempted to find out why those contracts were not included in the report, but calls to State Minister for Finance Kwesi Thompson were not returned up to press time yesterday. Cooper says in his statement that the government's total outstanding arrears amounting to $109 million as of August 25th are highly questionable. And he says it's not within the realm of probability that the Ministry of Works and the Department of Works have no outstanding payments to vendors. Read more about this in today's Guardian Business section. Commonwealth Brewery reporting record profits, or profits soaring at least, crediting the sharp boost in tourist arrivals and lower unemployment to nearly a 64% increase in net revenue and $3.24 million in net profits during the second quarter of its fifth financial year. Overall, CBL realized comprehensive income of more than $4 million for the first 6 months in 2021, which included second quarter net profits of $3,248,355 and a revaluation gain of $1,200,000 from one of its main properties on Grand Bahama. Overseas, stocks are higher in the early going on Wall Street today, with gains from tech giants leading the way. The S&P 500 was up 0.1%, and the NASDAQ up 0.5%. Apple rose 1.7%. The muted trading coming a day after the S&P 500 closed out August with its seventh consecutive monthly gain, its longest such winning streak since early 2018. A hiring survey by payroll processor ADP came in much weaker than expected, and the broader jobs report for the U.S. Labor Department comes out on Friday. The yield on the 10-year Treasury note held steady at 1.30%. Meanwhile, global markets rose mostly as investors weighed the economic impact of the spread of the coronavirus's Delta variant. Investors are optimistic about stronger U.S. corporate profits and took comments by Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell Friday as assurance that interest rates will stay low. Manufacturing indicators for China, India, and Indonesia showed activity declined in August as demand weakened, antivirus curbs were tightened, and factories wrestled with supply disruptions. Closer to home in your market watch, recapping trading on the BISX from Tuesday. Your market movers: Bahamas Waste Limited moving 1,000 shares, closing up 75 cents to $8.25. Consolidated Water up 4 cents to $2.44. Emira Incorporated up 3 cents to $11.56. The BISX All-Share Index closing at 2,067.11, up 1.40. That's your market watch, and that is your morning business report. Brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Traveling around the world, infecting men, women, boy, and girl, causing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19. test.
And we are back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards, and we're asking the question about your workplace and COVID and the vaccine, what the policy is, what are your employers telling you? Are they requiring you to get vaccinated? Should they require you? Should they require your coworkers? Are you concerned about working next to or along with other people? What do you want to happen? What do you think should be going on? Text us 422-4796, and you can call in 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. What should be the case? Should only vaccinated people be working in the office and unvaccinated people be working remotely? Or is it the other way around? What should be going on here? Do you agree that only vaccinated people should be among the new hires at a company? Or is it still your right to choose here? What say you? Chester, how do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable if you're required to return to the office and you're working next to unvaccinated people? Does that bother you?
No, I wouldn't say so. But I would like to know their status. So I do agree with the testing.
Yeah, a lot of people do say that. Or status is in testing, but not necessarily vaccination status.
Right, testing. I'd like to know that the office, if I have to be in office with someone that's controlling, that aspect of it, the testing aspect of it.
Well, I mean, that sounds like everyone's going to need to be tested regularly, regardless of vaccination status. So should that be a requirement? Every week people should be tested, regardless of vaccination status?
Weekly would be the safest thing. I mean, there's so much going on with this virus and its variants. You just don't know.
Yeah, interesting. All right, got another call. Let's go to the call. Good morning, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
I am a first-time caller, but I just felt I needed to respond to the gentleman who called in and spoke about ivermectin.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that his relative took the ivermectin and his or her symptoms improved, but that does not mean that the ivermectin was responsible for the improvement in symptoms. And so just because you take a medication or you take something and your symptoms improve, that does not mean it's because of that medication. Your symptoms, as most people with COVID-19, the symptoms will be mild or you will be asymptomatic, and they will improve no matter what you do, like any virus. So that's why we have studies on these medications, so that we know that it is the cause for improvement or treatment of a specific illness. So that's really all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I work in healthcare. I am fully vaccinated. I do believe that everybody should be fully vaccinated. I do actually support mandates, but that's just my 5 cents. Thank you.
No, that's great. Don't go yet. I'd love to ask you this. So, I mean, you're hearing more people talk about ivermectin and other medications. I mean, we've had a doctor on who's been telling people, please, for God's sake, this is not for humans. But what do you say to people who are thinking, well, it's the media who's keeping the truth from us. They don't want us to know about it. What do you say to people who are thinking
I think the media has a duty to report credible sources and to have credible people on their shows, their programs, who can speak intelligently to these things. I do not believe that there is some mass conspiracy that the media, the doctors, the scientists, governments, administrations, companies all over the world are involved in. I think that everybody should be trying to do what they do responsibly. So, that's my take on it, that you put out the best information that you have. You should vet everything that you're putting out. people who come and just start talking. What's your background? Where is this information coming from? Is it credible? What do the studies look like? Is there somebody who can explain the data that is out there? That's what people should be doing and aiming to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Stay safe.
I was going to say the same thing. How does she know? How does the guy know that it was the ivermectin? But I was reading the FDA website, and they do have an ivermectin that they use to treat humans, but it's not for viruses. It's still for parasites in the intestines.
Deworming, yes.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay. This is the text as we wrap the show up. Someone says, my workplace has closed twice for 14 days in the last 2 months because we exceeded 10% of infected people in the office. There are very few guidelines issued for COVID protocols, and management appears nonchalant. No real discussion on vaccine, as HR hasn't acted. We are closed now. It's been a good 4 weeks free vacation, but I wonder how the Ministry of Health views all of this. Oh, my goodness.
Are they still getting paid?
Well, you know that.
I hope so.
That's why they're saying it's a good
free vacation.
But come on now, right? This is madness. This can't continue like this. What are we going to do?
No.
What are we going to do? Hopefully people continue to have this conversation. Have the talk with your HR. Maybe they're not thinking about it, that, hey, it's time that we really do have this talk about what it's going to mean in the future, if you're vaccinated or not, and how things should be. And we got to keep thinking about this and how, because it's going to be with us for a long time, it appears. We're going to be living like this for a long time. And anyway, Chester Robards, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
And I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend Business right here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, have a great, safe day. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.